Mayor Vincent Howell,
Here.
Councilor David G. Romero,
Here.
Councilor Barbara Casey,
Here.
Councilor Michael L. Montoya,
Present.
Councilor David A. Ulibarri Jr.
Here.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We do have a quorum.
Pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Councilor Casey, could you do a moment of silence, please?
Let us take this time to reflect on the events that have been occurring over the last few weeks and give thanks that we are all pretty much healthy here in Las Vegas and San Miguel County. And let us pray that it stays that way and that we do all we can to make sure that the virus does not spread. Amen.
Thank you. Okay.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council.
Thank you.
The next item is the nomination of Mayor Pro Tem, which I believe is going to be removed.
Yes, we don't need it, I'm here. And I'm sure our new mayor-elect will be able to do that on his first organizational meeting, hopefully.
Thank you.
Miss, you can't just remove it, you have to make a motion to remove it. Mr.
Right.
Mayor, I make
Miss-
a... Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, I make a motion to remove the nomination of the mayor pro tem from the agenda for an indefinite period of time.
And I just had a comment to that is, I appreciate, that that you guys wanting to remove it, but I think that it's important that, in these times that we don't know what might happen. I mean, we only have 2 weeks, but something can happen in 2 weeks, and if we don't have that mayor pro tem, I'd hate for the business, city business to not go on. I don't see why we can't just approve one for the 2 weeks, just in case. You never know, God willing. I mean, if something keeps you out, even if it's from the city, if there's a closure or something within the community, and we don't have that mayor, I mean, that puts us in a bind. I don't know how you all feel, but we had a motion.
And another thing we can do is, say if that's happened, and we have a vote to mayor here, we can just select somebody from the council to run that council.
So you're saying not to?
Whatever you guys want to do is fine with me.
There's a motion on the floor, we need a second if we want to continue.
I second.
Second it, okay. Any other discussion?
Yeah, Mr. Attorney,
Yes.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
First of all, I'd like the city manager to introduce our attorney that's present.
Well, I was going to do that in a moment.
Oh, okay. I myself think that it's important to have a mayor pro tem. There's been 2 situations already with the past administration where there wasn't a mayor pro tem available, and one had to be appointed. And now, I strongly feel that maybe one should be appointed till the new mayor comes in, and then let that mayor and that new councilman and that governing body choose their own mayor pro tem at that time. But I think it's important because we've had 2 situations already that, or actually 3, that a mayor pro tem could have been.
Could you remind me of the 3 situations? I know the
Well,
last
one of them was
last one I know.
when you were appointed mayor, Mr. Mayor, and then the other mayor resigned or left or whatever happened there.
And I was a mayor pro temp at the time.
And there was a mayor pro tem for 1 year period. And the city charter says that a mayor pro tem is supposed to be for 1 year term. They never elected a mayor for 3 years, a mayor pro tem for 3 years. So really, at that point, they could have elected anybody from within. And it don't even have to be an agenda item. That's an administrative action that the council has to take. Why it's on the agenda, I don't know. But normally, it's done in the organizational meeting, and it's part of the house cleaning
Sure.
that it does.
So,
And then the other one is when you had an accident, Mr. Mayor, last week, and thank God that you're back and you're healthy and everything, and our prayers
understand
work
that.
for you. But there again, we're scheduled a meeting, and according to our charter, only mayor and council can cancel that meeting, and that wasn't really the case. We still had a meeting, and at that time, there was no mayor pro tem also. So
Yeah, I understood the last.
it's important to me that we abide, if we want to abide by the law, by their charter, we need to appoint with among us, a mayor pro tem for the time period till the organizational meeting or till the new mayor comes in a month or so.
Yeah, that's no problem. If the council wants that done, then we'll do it. But I understood the last situation that you mentioned. But the other two, I don't recognize it. I know that I was the mayor pro temp at the time, and the mayor decided whether not to elect another or appoint another mayor pro temp
So,
throughout
Mr.
the
Mayor,
time period.
so Mr. Mayor, you were appointed 3 times? to
No, I
mayor pro
was
tem?
only appointed once.
Exactly, and the city charter, if you
I
read it,
understand the city charter,
it says
Councilor,
1 year at a
but
time.
I understand that,
Yes.
but that's in the past right now, okay? The mayor did not do any action on that. So we, it's a moot point for this point, but from this going forward, I think we need to do that.
Well, due to the day-to-day occurrence that's going on in this world,
Right.
and in New Mexico, I believe that we should appoint somebody from within council for mayor
Okay.
pro tem for the time period till the organizational meeting happens.
Great, okay.
That's my
So
recommendation.
there's a motion and a second. Any more discussion? If not, roll call.
What was the motion?
The motion was to remove the appointment of the mayor pro tem.
Roll call.
Roll call, yeah.
Counselor Casey?
Yes.
Counselor Romero?
No.
Counselor Montoya?
No.
And Counselor Ulibarri Jr.
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Casey, a second by Counselor Ulibarri Jr. Mr. Mayor, we have a tie.
Okay, now, the motion the vote was to remove the mayor's,
Pro tem.
Mayor pro tem's agenda item. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, all right. So the motion is there's a tie,
That is
is
correct.
that correct? All right. I'll go ahead and say yes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion does carry.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. The next item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda. We did have an Attorney General's opinion that was delivered to us this morning. And we have it in your packet, we've included in your packets. However, I will just go through one of the recommendations by the Attorney General. He says, accordingly, the most prudent thing to do to ensure compliance with the Open Meetings Act would be to postpone or cancel a public meeting, and that's the second paragraph. If, however, a board or commission has a time-sensitive matter to attend to, it may proceed with the virtual meeting, provided its notice of meeting contains detailed information about how members of the public may attend and listen. And it goes on to explain several different requirements regarding the Open Meetings Act, and therefore we have reviewed the agenda items, and I'll turn that over to you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. I'd like to make an amendment to the agenda before we approve it. I'd like to amend the agenda by removing item 9, postponing, I should say, postponing item 9, 11, 12, and business item number 2, 3, 5, and 6.
I'm I don't think that that's proper procedure. I think that what we have to do is approve the agenda as presented, and then when we get to that item, table it until whichever time it would be appropriate to have it at a meeting.
Table it until a later date?
Right, yes.
Am I correct?
Yes, as we get to that agenda item.
Okay, so be it.
With that, I make a motion to approve the agenda as
Mr.
presented.
Mayor,
Okay, hold on, there's a motion on the floor.
we'll have another change. We're
Okay.
under approval of the agenda.
Okay,
Yeah. I recommend that February 12th meeting, work session, and the February 19th meeting, regular meeting, be separated and voted upon separately, please.
oh, I see, okay.
And also, I don't see why those items can't be removed if they're voted on and not tabled.
Mr. Mayor, with that,
Yes.
I make a motion to approve the agenda as presented with the amendments from Councilor Montoya.
And the removal of the nomination for pro tem. That was another amendment.
Okay,
And removal of the nomination of Mayor Pro Tem.
okay.
Second?
Motion and a second. Any other discussion? If not, roll call?
Counselor Ulibarri Jr.?
Yes.
Counselor Casey?
Yes.
Counselor Romero?
Yes.
Counselor Montoya?
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Romero, a second by Counselor Ulibarri Jr. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. The next item is the approval of the February 12th, 2020 work session minutes.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes,
I move
Council Casey.
approval of the minutes for February 12th work session. I did send in minor corrections.
Okay.
Second?
There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? If not, roll call?
I'm sorry, Mayor, who was the second for the record?
Second was Councilor Romero.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah.
Counselor Montoya?
Abstain?
Counselor Casey?
Yes.
Counselor Romero?
Yes.
Counselor Ulibarri Jr.?
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Casey, a second by Counselor Romero. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. The next item on the agenda is the approval of the February 19th, 2020 regular session minutes.
Mr. Mayor?
Council Casey.
I move approval of the February 19th, 2020 regular session meeting minutes, and I did send in corrections to those minutes also.
Thank you.
I'll
Have a
second
motion?
that, Mr. Mayor.
Pardon me?
I'll second that, Mr. Mayor.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Any discussion? Not? Roll call, please.
Counselor Ulibarri Jr.?
Yes.
Counselor Romero?
Yes.
Counselor Casey?
Yes.
Counselor Montoya?
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Casey, a second by Counselor Montoya. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries.
Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is mayor's appointments and reports.
I don't have any appointments, but I do have a report. I wanted to give the community a report on our dire situation that we have out there in our community and our nation. Alta Vista Hospital had a meeting with a lot of our agencies, and some of the agencies were our fire department, both San Miguel and city fire departments. The San Miguel County Sheriff, New Mexico State Police, the emergency manager, Leo Maestes, of course, Alta Vista infection control staff, San Miguel County Don Kinder, and also Superior Ambulance was there also. And what they did is they had a phone conference and discussed their contingency plan on how to deal with our situation at hand. Alta Vista, Alta Vista said that they had protocols in place for to address the COVID-19 situation. So they're well aware of it, and they have all the emergency plans built in within their protocols. Alta Vista also said that there has been 0 incidences as of yesterday in Las Vegas, San Miguel. So that's, thank God for that. Alta Vista also has emergency operations center set up also at the hospital. The OEM has points of distribution for testing. And one point, I talked with Councilman Romero this a few minutes ago, is at Memorial Middle School. I believe it's starting tomorrow, is that correct, Councilor?
Yes.
Yeah, it's starting tomorrow. And it's a drive-through testing site. So you get in your car, you go in there, and they'll ask you a few questions, and there's steps and procedures to go forward on the testing. And also I learned that Tricor Center here in Las Vegas at the, near the Walgreens or the, where's that at? Tricare?
It's right there by,
It's across the
Next to
street from,
Walgreens.
Next to the Walgreens? No.
On Mills.
no.
Trico?
Out
It's
of
by
the,
Hold on.
Trico?
Yeah, it's by
By
where
Hibbett's.
Beals was in
Yeah.
that shop.
Hibbett Sports?
Yeah,
that area?
Hibbett Sports, in that
there.
area. So they can go in there and get tested also. The sad part of all that, it takes about 2 to 3 days for it to get results. But at least we have the test sites available. And OEM and the hospital and law enforcement is negotiating other sites for our community. So the health department, fire department, hospital, and all law enforcement and Mora County is also working together to really address the situation within our regional area. So be rest assured that we're not laying silent on this situation. And our city has developed a contingency plan, and this contingency plan is in a binder like this, and it is on our website. Now, when you go on our website, where exactly do they go, Cassandra? Or
I believe it's,
Anne Marie?
I'm sorry, I'm thinking they put it under the human resource, safety sensitive, department. Either that or an executive, but I'll go check and make sure
Okay.
that it's in one of those.
So it could be,
We're just gonna-
it lists all the contingency plans for each department.
Yes, sir.
Right, so if you go under probably the department
Yes.
section, you can find it.
I'm sure we can find it, but I'll check with IT and give you the correct address.
Good, good, thank you, thank you. Also,
I'm sorry, I'm thinking
Oh.
they put it under
Sorry.
that's okay. We also have a COVID-19 drive-up testing site, which I already explained. But what they'll do is the residents accessing this drive-through site are encouraged to call the New Mexico Department of Health coronavirus hotline. And that number is 1-855-600-3453. Before arriving to assess symptoms and travel history. Residents accessing the drive-through testing site must meet the following criteria. Number 1, if you have symptoms, fever, dry cough, and/or shortness of breath. Number 2, if you have come into contact with someone who has tested positive for COVID-19. And the last criteria, number 3, is if you have recently traveled outside of New Mexico or the country. So please, when you call them, let them know the answers to those questions. And counselors, if you have any other information that we could like to mention to the community, please speak up.
I have something. I just want to have all the people from Las Vegas, the kids and our seniors, to stay home and take care of each other. Don't get in contact with too many people around you. You know, try and keep healthy, and if you guys need any help or anything, call the city or call me. Anything I can do for the seniors or anybody, you can call me at 505-429-5648. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor Hall.
Councilor Casey.
Just a quick announcement, Congressman Ben Ray Lujan is calling people just at random in Las Vegas to find out if they're doing okay, what they need, what are the concerns of the community, what are some issues that maybe have come up for individuals in the community that need to be addressed at his level. And so I think they mentioned to me today that if you have a prescription for a non-addictive drug, let's say that you have something that you take regularly for high blood pressure or for diabetes, and you go to the pharmacy and ask if you can get a 3-month supply, and they tell you no because Medicare or Medicaid won't pay for it, he needs to know so that he can address that with the folks in Washington to make sure that people get the medication that they need and things like that.
Good.
So if you get a call from Congressman Lujan, talk to him. He's a wonderful person that really cares about people, and he will do his best to address the needs of the community. And like Councilor Livarri, I've already talked to several people that have requested assistance with buying groceries or whatever, and I've taken care of that. So if anybody needs assistance, I am in the phone book. I think everybody knows my cell phone number. It's 429-5904, and I'll be happy to do what I can to help also.
Thank you, Councilor Casey. Any comments, Councilor Romero? No. Okay.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes. Oh, Councilor Mendoza.
I'd also like to report that in New Mexico, as the television news have been saying, there has been 28 positive tests in New Mexico, and there has been 500 people that have been tested, and more than 1,000 throughout the New Mexico area. And also the governor went and fought for some small business loans for companies or small businesses that need a loan at low interest rate, and that's they acquired $2 million for 33 counties in New Mexico. Those at 3.75%, and also 2.75 for nonprofit organizations. So there's help available, and that number is 505-690-7313. I also I'm available, and my number is 505-617-4400. And if anybody needs any kinds of assistance that I could help out with, let me know. I ask the community to check on the elderly and keep the young away from big crowds, and stick to each other and check on your neighbors. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. I wanted to mention also that our utilities department will not do any disconnect because of lack of payments, because of our situation that we have. A lot of our community members are unemployed because of the situation, and I'm also glad that they're able to go to get unemployment, which would be approved, I believe, from what the governor said. So that's a good thing.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
with that point, there is help available for child care, food, supplies, loss of income due to this virus, and that number is 1-833-551-0518. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Councilor.
I just wanted to make a couple comments. I know Councilor Casey had reached out to Congressman Ben Ray Lujan. I also reached out to Congressman and also Stephen Salas in Congressman Lujan's office. I know there's been concerns in our community. I know El Centro was running out of medical supplies. Congressman Ben Ray Lujan has assured that he's reaching out and seeing what resources he could use to help.
Wonderful.
To help the El Centro and Alta Vista and whatever, taking care of our medical professionals. Another thing happened today, and if our community, we all know, the supplies, the essential supplies are out. There's some individuals that are coming into this town and taking advantage, selling tissue paper. I've spoke to Chief Bibb, and he's looking into that. We can't have individuals coming into our town and taking advantage of those, so that's being addressed through Chief Bibb's office and the police department. If anybody's out there see these individuals coming in and taking advantage of that, please just report it to the local law enforcement. Thank you.
Thank you.
And with that, Counselor, Mr. Mayor, Councilors, the flea markets have also been required to close down. And so I think that's kind of a magnet for some of these issues that happen. But I just had an email from the governor's office just about 5:30 this afternoon where flea markets are going to be requested to close down. And so we will get a hold of the operator and let them know. And that way possibly, because the flea markets I think are the places where sometimes people tend to go to sell those.
Right. Thank you.
We'll do that as well.
Good. I'd like to also compliment some of the businesses out there that are helping serve our seniors out there, because they're providing food for the seniors. And I believe Sarah Matthews at Barachos is collecting food to give to the seniors, and that's really commendable. And also, a lot of other businesses are trying to figure out a way to help our community. That's so wonderful about Las Vegas community, because we're all working together to help each other, and that's how we are going to be successful in this situation. So I want to thank all those businesses, and particularly Sarah Matthews for doing what she's doing. I also want to thank all the healthcare professionals, the nurses, the doctors, the house workers that are in the hospitals, cleaning and sanitizing and really working hard to make sure that we are all safe when we enter their establishments. And also, if you go into the restaurants, I mean in the convenience stores and things like that, they're also having their sanitizer bottle and sanitizing doors and chairs and tables. So I want to thank everybody that's doing that within our community. So thank you. Two more things. I'd like to thank Attorney David Silva for being our contracted attorney, and I appreciate you coming in, helping us out, Mr. Silva. Yeah, welcome. And lastly, I want to thank the whole community for their thoughts and prayers for my incident that happened last Wednesday, and I have to really monitor my heart, and that's what's going to happen for me. And once I leave the politics, I will be able to do that much more comfortably. So thank you to everyone that gave me thoughts and prayers. Appreciate it. Thank you, Ms. Manager. You're all next. What's next on the agenda?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. The next item was mayor's recognitions and proclamations, and I believe you were going to request a table the
Yes.
recognitions, am I correct?
Yes,
Is
I'd
that
like to,
action item?
I move that we table the mayor's recognitions and proclamations until the next meeting.
Thank you.
Second.
motion and a second. Any discussion? Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Counselor Montoya?
Yes.
Counselor Casey?
Yes.
Counselor Romero?
Yes.
Counselor Uribe Jr.?
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Casey, a second by Counselor Romero. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next item is public input, and I believe we had one person submitting public input. Am I correct, Cassandra?
Actually, we had three.
Oh, I'm sorry.
There's three, and they're right in front of you, Mr. Mayor, Councilors. And, Mr. Mayor, if you would prefer, I can go ahead and read each one into the record.
Please do. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So the first public input is from Mr. Whit Slick, and he states, Mayor and Council, this is my public input for two larger tax items on the agenda. The first agenda, item number 7, is to have the city buy 26 pages in the Las Vegas Visitor Guide instead of 19.5 pages. An excellent idea. Las Vegas has more events and attractions to promote that can fit into 19.5 pages. 30 pages would be even better, but 26 pages works. The second one is item number 8, is to establish maximum and minimum amounts for event marketing funding recommendations. Please table this and ask the Lodger Tax Advisory Board to get public input before council decides. Because public input was last on the agenda at the March 11th Lodgers Tax meeting, the board never heard from the organizations that offer public events before they voted this item. That input might modify their recommendations. Thank you for appointing such a strong Lodger Tax Advisory Board, and thank you for your consideration of these 2 agenda items today. With
Thank you.
the second public input for the record is from the Animal Welfare Coalition, and this is from Mr. Marshall Poole, Board President. The AWC Pet Center continues to prepare for the impact of this global COVID-19 situation. To that end, we have asked City of Las Vegas code enforcement officers and San Miguel County Sheriff's Office Animal Control to work with us on taking active measures to reduce non-essential intakes. Measures taken should include returning pets in the field instead of impounding them, suspending non-emergency owners surrender intake, and encouraging owners who are ill to keep their pets at home whenever possible. These recommendations are made by the National Animal Care and Control Association. As members of the public safety community, we have an obligation to perform our duties during disasters, both natural and man-made. To that end, NACA recommends the following. High priority emergency calls. At this time, animal control officers should continue to respond to emergency and high priority calls. High priority emergency calls include law enforcement assistance, injured or sick stray animals, cruelty and negligent complaints, bite complaints, and dangerous and aggressive dog complaints. Non-emergency calls and activities. Officers should suspend low priority non-emergency activity. This includes non-aggressive stray animal pickup, leash law and licensing complaints, barking and nuisance complaints, trapping and transport of community cats, and conflict mitigation scenarios. Shelter intake reduction. Animal control agencies should take active measures to reduce non-essential shelter intake. Measures taken should include returning pets in the field instead of impounding them, suspending non-emergency owner surrender intake, and encouraging owners who are ill to keep their pets at home whenever possible. It is a recommendation of NACA that cases be evaluated on an individual basis to determine the immediacy of need based on condition of the animal. This managed intake process should be considered as long as there is not an immediate threat to public safety or the safety of the animal. It is highly recommended that all pet owners have a plan for pets in case of illness. If you have room in your home, please consider reaching out to friends and family to provide support for their pets in the event of illness or hospitalization. While there is no evidence to date that pets can spread COVID-19, please visit the CDC for the latest information about COVID-19 and pets. And then he gives the website. We also want to acknowledge and commend Mayor Vince Howell for his truly thorough efforts both in support of animal welfare issues, but also to prepare for the transition to the new mayor and council. Sincerely, Marshall Poole, Board President.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And lastly, for public input, we have Beth Rings, and she states, what was so urgent that you, Councilors Romero, Ulibarri, and Montoya choose to have the meetings that were canceled earlier in the day, and then 6 minutes before 5:30 it was decided to have a meeting anyway. She referenced a page to the Office of the Attorney General, which lists the law for the agenda, which states for purposes of this subsection, an emergency refers to unforeseen circumstances that, if not addressed immediately by the public body, will likely result in injury or damage to persons or property or substantial financial loss to the public body. She states, we are also wondering how Councilor Montoya and our mayor-elect are planning on paying off the HUD bill.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That concludes public input.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Ms.
Cassandra.
Cassandra.
The next item on the agenda was presentations, and I believe that you had recommended to table this as well, Mr. Mayor.
Yes. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we table the presentations that are listed on the agenda until the next meeting, whenever that happens to take place.
Thank you.
Okay.
Second.
Motion and second. Any discussions? Any discussions? That, roll call?
Counselor Romero,
Yes.
Counselor Montoya,
Yes.
Counselor Casey,
Yes.
Counselor Uribe Jr.
Yes.
A motion by Counselor Casey, a second by Counselor Uribe Jr. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries.
The next item on the agenda, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, the city manager's report. And in continuation with the COVID-19 that we have been dealing with since last week, we have had our department heads prepare their transitional plans, both stage 1, stage 2, and stage 3, which you have a binder for. We were also on the radio on Monday talking about some of the services that we're going to continue to do. We are looking at, we did have closures. Closures were recreation center, the library, and the museum. Those a lot of times have and people that come in that may come in from out of town or out of state, and so we felt it safer that we close those facilities. However, they've been doing a cleaning, an in-depth cleaning in the facility to make get it ready for when we do reopen once again. One of the most critical areas that we had is the airport, and we have that up and running. That's very critical. We have the National Guard coming in to do up. We also have some of the ambulance services to airlift people sometimes on an emergency basis, and so we have those going on. We also have tomorrow, I believe it's tomorrow and Friday, Utility Center will be closing down, but that's to move into their new building on Mills Avenue, and it's not a closure because of the COVID-19, it's because they will be moving their facilities over to the new facilities. In terms of employees have come in. If they are feeling ill, and we haven't had any, fortunately, that are not feeling well. And so, but we will continue to monitor it, and it's on an individual basis. We actually send out our safety officer and have them analyze the issue and the situation with the department head, and then we move forward as well. But on another subject matter, I did want to also relay, and I believe that Councilor Montoya, and I don't know if there was any other councilors that were there, they were at the Animal Coalition meeting that was held last Wednesday, I believe. Very well attended. There was a subcommittee that was put together on behalf of use of animals, and so that is in the stage of a planning stage. However, there was a 2-hour dialogue and discussion with a lot of with members of the community, with the Animal Welfare Animal Coalition and their work sites. We also had Judge Trujillo, who came and gave us some advice as to how we can better hold people more accountable, and so he was going to be working very closely with the staff at the Animal Control Center as well.
Mr. Mayor, point of privilege?
I'm sorry.
I'm getting some text messages that they can't hear you. I don't know.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You can put the mic closer, or?
Yes, I will get there. I will talk louder.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Thank you, Mayor.
So
Thank you.
we did that, and then we were very pleased that we were able to hire 3 animal control officers. They are all on board. This is their second week, and they all have, Chief Bibb was able to acquire equipment for them, equip them, and as well as uniforms for them. And so they are on the payroll, and they are working throughout the city of Las Vegas.
Great. Thank you.
And I believe that is it. We will continue to send you updates on the COVID-19. It's changing as we speak. As I said, I just got something at 5:30 this afternoon. I'll be emailing that over to you. And it's addressing other closures as well. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
And, Ms. Manager, also Senator Campos called and said that he is available for anything that we need to help out with. So he's also with Representative Salazar also. So
Thank you.
just want to mention that.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I have a question for the manager. Is on the buses that are coming in from out of state, you know, I think they end up driving into Pinos and stuff. Are they doing anything, the sanitizers or hand sanitizer, anything for
I
the people that
haven't
are getting down?
checked with them, Counselor, but I will in the morning if you'd like. I'm sure that they are doing the same things as far as sanitizing and making sure that they keep their facility clean. The restaurants will be closed, I believe, except for takeout. And I believe that stands the same even in the fueling station. But I'll be glad to check and let you know.
Yes, ma'am, thank you.
Sure.
We will communicate with Mr. and Mrs. Seiss
Yes.
and ask them that question.
Yes, sir.
Yes, Councilor
Mr. Mayor,
Romero.
I had that same concern being that, you know, and it isn't only Pinos. I think, you know, the majority, you know, of the out-of-state travel that's coming into Las Vegas is well, you have Pinos that have the buses, and you also have Love's Truck Stop that, I mean, is there a way, I don't know, through the city that, I mean, if we have these individuals that are coming in, we do have constituents that do go to these businesses. I mean, is there a way that somebody can monitor and make sure that, you know, the people that are getting down with these buses or entering these businesses aren't coming in with those symptoms? I don't know if there's something.
Yeah, I have to consult with Alta Vista and OEM, Leo Maestas, see what they would suggest. Because we also have to talk with the management at Love's. And also there's buses coming in at Burger King also. So,
It just, you know, to make sure, I mean, as we know, New Mexico is one of the states that doesn't have that many confirmed cases versus Colorado, Texas, and some of these other places where these buses are coming in. That's a concern. The other concern has been parks. I know other communities are closing the parks, and it's not really the parks itself. They're allowing parks, I mean, they want kids to be out and have that social distance, but the concern has been the equipment. Obviously, I don't think that we have the manpower and the staffing to ensure that, you know, the playground equipment and all that is being sanitized. So I don't know if there's a way, or if you guys have looked into that as far as closing the equipment down.
What
I
we
know it's
can do is-
unfortunate, but, you know, we got to make sure that we're protecting our.
And what we can do is send out the staff in the morning and make sure that and that's what we were doing, that's what we had done previously, is we had sent out staff in the mornings to check the parks, make sure that they were safe and that there wasn't anything that would obstruct or that would hurt any of the
And what I'm talking
students.
about
So that-
is the equipment. Kids are going to be playing
I
on the,
understand that.
now that there's no school, the equipment isn't getting sanitized throughout the day, so how, I mean.
It isn't, but that would be something possibly that the parents do look into as well. And so I don't know how we could have someone to sanitize. I'm just not sure of that, but that's a good question.
Well, there's communities
Yeah,
at
that
least-
that closing down the equipment.
At least
part.
do that.
yeah. I would think if we can send a staff out to the
Right.
equipment with sanitizing equipment and sanitize the whole slides and.
Yeah, but they're not gonna stay sanitized.
What they're
That's
just
true.
doing is they're discouraging
Just
using the
discouraging
equipment
it.
for that reason, but, I mean, that's something that needs to
We
be
will ask,
addressed.
we will ask that question.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, Councilor Montoya.
Madam Interim City Manager, as far as our funding from the legislature, the city of Las Vegas requested $5 million. And out of that $5 million, we got $480,000.
Yes, sir.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So I could see where our senators and representatives could help us out. The other question I had was, right now we have the library and the museum that are shut down
Yes, sir.
till further notice.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, is it out of, do we have the authority, Mr. Mayor and Council, to go ahead and shut down the recreation center for Thursday and Friday of this week? Just to eliminate more infections or more the virus
I
from
believe the
spreading?
rec center is
They're
also
closed.
closed.
Oh, they're closed
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
as of today,
No, they were closed on Monday at noon.
on Monday.
Yes, sir.
So they were closed Monday, and the senior citizen was closed when? Monday?
Senior citizens, they changed their hours on Monday as well.
Mm.
Yes, sir.
So,
But they're providing meals and they're
Mm.
providing different services for the seniors.
yeah.
Yes,
But
sir.
I would just recommend, Mr. Mayor, that we be notified, like, maybe like on a daily basis, send out an email or something, just to notify us and keeping us up to date as to what's opening, what's closing, and what's taking effect in that manner.
Yeah, we'll do that.
Yeah.
Understand that everything is going warp speed.
Understand.
So
Yes.
we will try our best to get you
But our
minute by
constitu-
minute.
Yes, and our constituents are asking us,
Right, I understand that.
so we
You're
need
right.
to have some kind of answer for them.
Right.
so,
We
yeah.
did send out
So-
PSAs, Counselor.
Yeah,
We sent out PSAs, we posted them, we sent them out to KFUN, and then we were at KFUN on Monday as well.
yeah.
And we were updating as we speak. And we'll continue to update because this is changing on a continuous basis and hourly. Yes, sir.
Councilor Montoya, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No,
Okay. Councilor Montoya, if you have a suggested way of we can communicate to you right away, please let us know. I know through phone calls or through emails,
Well, I have an city email address
okay?
that anybody from the city can
So we,
send us an update.
Everyone's on the
and I'm
city
talking on
email,
behalf of
correct?
Council, to get an
Councilors?
update as to what's going on, maybe, even every day or every 2 days at least,
okay,
so that way we know.
we'll do
And
that.
When they open up again, people start asking us, well, we have a date to give them, or, we can give them some information.
Good suggestion.
Thank
We'll
you.
do that.
Thank you,
Mayor?
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, Councilor Romero.
If I could add to that is that I feel Councilman Montoya's frustration is that, and I don't see, how it could be so difficult. I know we're sending out the PSAs, but we're not getting them all the time. I mean, there was the senior center one, the closing, I was unaware until I saw it in the public brought it to my attention. And I think that's frustrating as us elected leaders when we're asked, well, what shut down, and we're being told out in the community, that's frustrating to us. So, I mean, whenever you're sending these PSAs or whoever's determining the closures, I don't see what a text message or a quick email, obviously, they're going out to the community, but, I mean, CC us or send an additional text.
Okay.
It's frustrating, yeah.
Yeah,
It is.
I understand.
we can continue to try to get a hold of you people. I know it's hard, and I know all of you are busy, pretty busy with your daily lives, and then trying to keep up with the daily activities of the city is just as difficult for all of you. And that's why I think we have decided we were going to do PSAs. We have Joanne, who works pretty much of the day trying to get all of this information to you as well as to the community. And it will continue. I mean, it can only get, it may get more difficult, but we're going to continue to address those and get information to you.
Yes.
If I can, a suggestion, I don't know if you could make a point man or a point person that could be handling this, because I don't know, the senior center, did they determine to close or in consultation with you, or how was that?
That was determined by the state, sir, by the AAA, by their agency, the state agency level. And then that was determined, the closure was determined, and how the facility was going to run is determined by their state agency that assists them. And she was on the radio on Monday morning indicating that these closures were in fact by her agency, her state agency.
Okay, because I'm also being told that some of these PSAs aren't getting to the Optic and other news outlets.
I don't know, we send them out, sir, but we'll continue to do.
Okay, so that's what I'm saying, maybe a suggestion, a point person that,
Okay.
they're the main contact person that should know everything that's
Absolutely.
developing within the city. And
Absolutely.
because I think it's, from my standpoint, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but it seems like it's kind of chaotic.
And what I'm hearing is that they check their emails all the time. So they're city emails.
We're continuously, yes,
Yeah.
we are.
Mr. Mayor, so the thing is, if we get a case, or 10 cases, or things get worse, what's the next step for the emergency management team?
And that's why,
The Mora San Miguel, the Las Vegas San Miguel emergency.
well, that's what we need to find out
Yeah.
also, Councilman Montoya. We did have projected to have Mr. Maestas, Leo Maestas, come
Yes.
in and give us that explanation.
Okay.
But as you've noticed that we could only have 10 people in our meeting. So I will ask him to send out an email describing that exactly what you asked.
Yeah, so that we can prepare ahead of time instead of going backwards.
Well, I don't think
He
we're-
should have,
think-
they should have some kind of a plan.
Like
for
I
in
said,
case things get worse.
Right. Alta Vista has a protocol for
Yes.
all the emergency plans,
Mhm.
and also the OEM office has that, Office of Emergency Management. So I will have them send out an email for all of us to get notified.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Because we had projected the Director of Contagious Disease at Alta Vista to come and talk to us, and also Leo Maestas, the Office of Emergency Management. But we had to postpone that talk. And so what we can do is maybe have them do a PSA
Something.
and put it on the radio so they can, everyone can hear it. Okay?
And I believe, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, that the closures or the changes that we do on a daily basis is going to depend on the severity of the issue and the severity of the cases here in San Miguel County. We're very lucky that we haven't had that yet, but I believe that would be something that would be determined by OEM and the other agencies, and it would be just dependent on the severity, but we're going to continue to send the information to you as quickly as we get it.
And I understand that, Mr. Mayor, but you're a member of the board at the hospital,
Mhm.
so I'm pretty sure you're informed. But for instance, if things get worse, and we need to start utilizing our ambulances or our fire department or whatever to the smaller rural communities, if there's an epidemic, I mean, what's the plan in place, or do we have to get clearance from the state or the federal to do something like that, to go out of our jurisdiction? So those are kind of the things that I'm more concerned about, if it would be bigger, because there has been a lot of deaths already throughout the country.
Right.
And it could spread out even worse if we don't contain it, if we don't stay at home and,
Right.
do those things.
Right.
But to be ahead of the ballgame, let's say there's a few cases in Wagon Mound or so forth, or Mora, for instance. I mean, what is our capacity to go and help out or reach out to those communities? Because we're probably the ones with the resources or, that we could help out, so.
Sure.
But so I wish that he would have been here to explain to us what's the next process.
Right.
But given the case, communication's a big skill, a big portion of it. Thank you,
You're right.
Mr. Mayor.
Okay. And please understand also that our guidance on this COVID-19 issue is coming from the federal government and also the state government and our local OEM department. So that's where we're getting all our guidance from. And we will apply all the guidances that they give us. But I will have OEM and Alta Vista Hospital give us a white paper describing those things that you just asked.
Steps or process.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. The next item is the finance report, and we would table that as well. I believe you have your finance reports as part of your packet. So if you have any questions or any other issues that you may have some.
I have a whole
Counselors,
bunch. Yeah.
if you can email them to us.
I'll email them to Dominic.
Thank you.
I move that we table the finance report until the next meeting, whenever that happens to be.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilman.
We need a second on that.
There's a motion, I need a second.
Second.
Motion and a second, any discussion? Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Counselor Montoya?
Yes.
Counselor Romero?
Yes.
Counselor Casey?
Yes.
Counselor Ulibarri Jr.?
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Casey, a second by Counselor Ulibarri Jr. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. The next item on the agenda is the business item, number 1, approval of resolution number 20-13, runoff election for the city of Las Vegas. And we have Ms. Cassandra Frescas.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. As all of you know, we recently had our municipal officer election on March 3rd. And in accordance to our municipal charter, it does state on there that a candidate must receive 50% plus 1 of the votes cast for that particular office, or a runoff election shall be held between the 2 candidates who receiving the highest number of votes. And that shall take place within 45 days. So getting back to our municipal officer election, in Ward 3, we did not, that was not the case. So nobody received 50% plus 1 votes. Therefore, we would have to have a runoff election, and that has been set by a proclamation by the Secretary of State back in December for April 14th. That is on the resolution 2013 that I am recommending approval of. We have in Ward 3, the two highest votes. We have candidate Joseph William McCaffrey Jr. with 33.7%, and we have Joseph P. Baca Sr. with 49.5%. And so with the resolution that's before you, at the councilor's recommendation, I had a couple of changes, and those reflect in the resolution itself. The first one is, if you look at letter B on the first page, I added that only those voters registered in Ward 3 shall be qualified to vote for councilor in Ward 3, as well as in letter D, we initially had the 2 voting convenience centers listed there, both the Robertson Michael Mar Gym and the West Las Vegas Billy Lopez Gym. And like I said, at your recommendation, we removed one of those and only have the Robertson High School Michael Mar Gym, which is located in Ward 3. So those were basically changes that were added to the resolution. And with that, I'll stand for any questions on Resolution 2013.
Mr. Mayor?
Councilor Romero, then Councilor Montoya.
Okay. Ms. Clerk, I had one concern, and I don't know if this is possible because after reviewing the election code, because I know this has been brought up and they're talking about it nationwide, is if the precautions that that every community is taking now, and having now no groups larger than 10. Are there alternatives to this election, mail ballot? I know I think only bonds can be done mail ballot.
That is
But
correct.
is that something that maybe the Secretary of State's looking at? That's a
Mayor,
concern of.
Counselor, so we called the Secretary of State just to see if there was any changes, or if we heard that around the country they've been postponing some of the elections. And at this time, we're going through with the election, and they will let us know if things change. So we are to turn in our resolution when it's signed, and day by day they'll let us know if anything changes. But that would be up to the Secretary of State. So we did check with them on that. So they'll let us know as soon as something changes, they will let us know if we need to postpone it for a later time. But at this time, we're asking approval of the resolution.
So how would we conduct? I mean, and I know this is. How would we conduct those? Just limiting. And I know you really legally you can't. I mean, there's a lot of questions to.
So we were looking on how we could minimize exposure. One was asking for, of course, the one gym to be open. We will still have early voting and absentee voting here at City Hall for the 2-week period. So during that time, we would still do absentee through mail. And however, early voting, we would still have citizens, registered voters coming in. What we thought we would do is try to keep, maybe have one voter at a time go in to vote, and then when that person would come out, we would send the next and so forth, so that we would have a group of people at one time in the office.
Okay.
And sanitizing everything, trying to do the best we can to keep them separate.
All right, thank you, Mayor.
Councilman Toy.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor,
Councilor Casey.
Mr. Mayor, Madam Clerk, so that's for the exception of Good Friday, that you won't have any early voting?
So on Friday, April 10th,
Yeah,
there will be early voting up to noon,
noon,
yes,
okay.
on that day.
And then, Mr. Mayor, the other question is probably, I haven't met the attorney or city attorney, but the question would be on the resolution itself, on letter C. At the runoff election, one person shall be elected to fill the office of Ward 3 Councilor for a 4-year term. Now, is that to say that his 4-year term is gonna start the day of the election, or when he's appointed, or is gonna backdate to the election that we already had? Because, the individual that comes in, the new counselor that comes in, the runoff is April 14th.
That's correct,
And then the canvassing will probably be on Monday, the 20th,
that's correct.
okay? And then the takeover of the seat will be a month later, according to the Secretary of State, would be May 1st.
That is correct, Councilor.
So, Madam Counselor Casey would be here till May 1st,
That is correct.
okay? So the new counselor would take office May 1st.
Yes, sir.
So is this resolution need to be revised to where it says from May 1st to May 1st, or from May 1st till the end of the term, the same term that the mayor and myself, the new ones, are coming into?
I read it the same way Ms. Vasquez does that. May 1st would be the start date of 4 years.
May 1st. So this person is going to be in office for 2 years till the following May 1st, and not when me and the mayor run in March 1st or March 2nd.
I believe so.
You see, you know what I'm getting at, what I'm saying?
I think the terms are going to end on different days, you're asking?
In other words, this counselor is going to be shorthanded by 2 months.
It's a 4-year term.
It's a 4-year term, but he's going to be starting May 1st. So how is that a 4-year term? If the election's going to be in March 1st, 2 years from now. That's changing 2 months. March, April, and May.
Let's hear, Councilor Romero has maybe an answer to that.
I think because I ran into that same scenario where I took office May 1st, but I think all that falls within the charter, where the charter specifies, the elections, when they'll start, and then when the next office, so I think that's addressed in the charter if you look in.
Yeah, it says every March, and it's a 4-year term.
Until the position is filled by, I think there's some wording in there that I think the charter
I
addresses.
don't have it with me, but I think it is beginning May 1st.
And
Until
Mr.
the
Mayor,
next election.
Counselor, it would be until the next election for that particular board.
Okay, so then this resolution is not correct, because it says it's for a 4-year term.
It is a 4-year term, but what happened was that the legislature changed the law last year, year before, in 2018, and the changes that were made by the legislature don't match the charter. So the charter is what needs to be
Funny privilege, get a message that the online froze.
Oh.
I don't know, you have an IT.
Frozen. And so on that point, I think that's a very good point,
Mhm.
because that person would be shortchanged by 2 months, unless, of course, the charter is fixed
Is
before
amended.
that 4-year term is up, and then that can be corrected.
Okay. Yeah, I just thought I brought it out because,
Yeah.
bring it out because that individual's gonna think he's in for 4 years, and he's gonna be from May 1st to May 1st, 4 years from now. So,
I understand the
So,
mayor-elect has it on his high priority to amend the charter.
yes,
So,
and so do I. The other item, I just wanted to indicate here, adoption of, an approval of this is on the 18th, not the 11th. That's a correction on the date of the,
Oh, yeah.
okay?
Yes, thank you.
And then the other point that I wanted to make was that I want to give credit to this council because we decided that there was no need for 2 polling places, the West Gym and the Robertson Gym, and instead we're saving the tax dollars, $10,000 for the taxpayers. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
thank you.
Mr. Mayor, just a
Councilor
quick
Casey.
comment before we vote. For those of you that read Spanish or don't, I did correct all the Spanish in the Spanish version of the resolution, so it is,
Great.
the
Thank
Spanish
you.
is correct.
Thank you for that.
Including the date.
Thank you, Councilor.
Thank you.
I didn't, I corrected it before the date was added.
Okay. So we have a motion and a second.
No.
No, we don't.
Don't we have
So,
a second?
Mr. Mayor?
Oh,
We
go
don't have
ahead.
a motion.
Make a motion to approve resolution 20-13 runoff election for the city of Las Vegas.
I second the motion, Mr. Mayor.
There we go, now we do. We have a motion and a second, any more discussion? Any more discussion?
No.
Not, roll call, please.
Councilor Uribe Jr.,
Yes.
Councilor Romero,
Yes.
Councilor Montoya,
Yes.
Councilor Casey.
Yes.
I have a motion by Councilor Romero, a second by Councilor Casey. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, motion carries.
Thank you. It's
Thank
good
you, Mayor
discussion, councilors, really good discussions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. The next item on the agenda, the mayor is requesting that we table item number 2.
Mr. Mayor?
Can we do more than just
I was
one?
gonna ask, are we going to table all the rest?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
So then, we can do the motion to table the remaining,
2, 3, 5, and 6.
yeah, but let the clerk read those items that are going to be tabled.
Madam,
But I think Councilor Romero has a question.
I just had one question pertaining to the increase and decrease of funds. Is that something that can wait another month?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and then, this is my opinion again, is, I mean, we're here and I don't see, some of these other items, for instance, item 5, those that are dealing with CES, as to why they're even coming before us. I mean, CES, the
Well, we were-
procurement is,
What we were trying to do, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, and I did review the agenda with Mr. Mayor and with the city clerk, we were trying to minimize the time, any time-sensitive issues. Some of these were not time-sensitive, and the other thing is trying to limit the social gathering, if you will. They were requesting only that 10 people be at the meeting, or to minimize as quickly as we could.
and the reason why, I mean, if they're going through CES, they really don't even need to go before the council, is what I'm aiming at.
And if that's reasonable, then we can review it once more. I just, what we felt was that mayor and council should be made aware of some of the projects that we're doing. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, point of order. At the beginning of the meeting, when we approved the agenda, Madam Councilor said we go item by item and table whatever item instead of jumping
Okay.
back and forth.
No problem.
Thank you.
I wanted to add to what Councilor Romero said. I had those as my questions to council comments is, the Riverwalk and Feston got the money last May. That's, a long time ago, and I was wondering why it took so long. And if we're awarding bids to companies that are all registered with CES and have already been approved by CES, then I'm wondering why it took so long to get that taken care of.
We actually had to meet with the project manager and the staff from the Guaymas Riverwalk and also the El Cristón Circle. And that took a while to decide what we were going to do and how we were going to plan it out. One other issue was that we were waiting for additional funds to come through. And so it is in the neighborhood of more than $60,000, which is over the limit that we can authorize.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Council.
Okay, so go ahead with your motion. Councilor Casey.
Okay,
One
so
by
you
one.
want to do them one by one?
Yes.
Okay, so we are on
Item number 2.
item number 2. Mr. Mayor, I move that we table item number 2 until the next possible meeting.
Okay, got a motion, need a second?
Second.
Okay, motion and second. Any more discussion? Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Counselor Ulibarri Jr.?
Yes.
Counselor Casey?
Yes.
Counselor Montoya?
Yes.
Counselor Romero?
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Casey, a second by Counselor Romero. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. The next item, item number 3, is also a request by the mayor to table.
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead.
I think these are items, I mean, it's up to you guys, but I think these are items that I would just, I mean, unless there's any questions, but I say they're essential and they just pass them and get them done with and move on. I don't know what the
And
holdup is to.
actually, item number 3, Counselor, is the new application for the senior programs.
And that's what I
And
need.
that's a new application for the next 2 years, and so that actually will run in the neighborhood of 100 and, I believe it's 160, 170,000 in revenue. And so I think that it would be a good idea, and it may be not now, but I think that, and I believe she does need council approval as well.
With that, I mean, whatever you guys feel, but I make a motion to approve to adopt resolution 20-12,
Okay.
authorizing submission of the area plan to
Thank you.
non-metro area agency of aging for the city of Las Vegas senior program.
Thank you,
Second.
Counselor.
Got a motion, I need a second?
Second.
Motion and second. Discussion?
Yes.
Councilor Montoya?
Mr. Mayor, on this note, on the second page of the resolution 20-12, the last sentence on there, well, the last 3 sentences, now therefore be it resolved that the governing body, the City of Las Vegas, New Mexico, that Ana Marie Gallegos, interim city manager for the City of Las Vegas, is authorized to sign and enter into this contract. I would recommend that we add on there, after manager, that we add or the successor and their official representatives.
You can certainly do that, Counselor.
Thank you,
With that, I
ma'am.
amend my motion to
And
Mr. Montoya's
Amendments?
recommendations.
Mhm. Okay. Motion, and was there a second? There was a second to the amendment, correct?
You have to vote
Yes.
on the amendment first, and then you vote on the resolution itself.
he amended it in his motion.
I amended my motion.
Okay.
Did the
Yeah.
second motion?
Right.
Ms. Casey made it.
Did you okay?
Casey.
Yeah, okay.
Any more discussion? If not, roll call?
Counselor Romero?
Yes.
Counselor Montoya?
Yes.
Counselor Casey?
Yes.
Counselor Ulibarri Jr.?
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Romero, a second by Counselor Casey. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. The next item is the approval, disapproval to award bid number 20-06 to Rocky Road Gravel for the reconstruction of Mountain View, King Street, West National Avenue pavement for the construction, reconstruction, pavement, rehab, drainage improvements, and miscellaneous construction. We have Mr. Danny Blue. Danny?
Mr.
Good
Mayor,
evening.
Council.
Good evening, Dan.
Mr. Mayor, council members, I'm here seeking approval of bid 2020-06 to Rocky Road Construction for the construction pavement for Mountain View, King, West National. He came in the lowest bid. Stand for any questions.
Mr. Mayor,
Counselor Casey.
I have a question on this. How can his bid come in $200,000 less than everybody else? I mean, that's a huge chunk of money
The
for
only
the
thing
same work.
The only thing I can think of is he's local, so that's something, they don't have to cover the cost of bringing the equipment and stuff like that, bringing the asphalt from another place and stuff.
Okay, and my other question was, in the letter from Molson Corbin, I believe that it was noted that it's the last bullet on the first page. It says Rocky Road Gravel LLC did not list any subcontractors, did not list a striping subconsultant, and is not licensed for striping work. So who is going to be doing the striping, and how much more is that going to cost if Rocky Road can't do it?
This would actually have to come out of what he bid as far as his bid. But this is actually up to council and mayor to go ahead and approve the Rocky Road for this project. This is what we're going to do. I
So-
can't make the decision of why.
Yeah, but how much money will striping cost? Do you have any idea?
I'd have to go back and get you the information as far as the other bidders that do. I didn't bring any of that paperwork. It's listed on theirs.
Not-
Okay, you know,
Counselor, are you done?
Nothing would make me happier than to see Mountain View Road and Keene and West National fixed, especially Keene. That's such a bad road. It doesn't even have a road. But I'm concerned that the bid is low, and, you know, later on, they're gonna come back and say, well, we need more money for striping, and how much is that gonna be? And are we gonna end up paying basically the same
This
amount that we're
was
paying
listed
somebody else?
on the spec book and everything, so he had the specs when he put this out to bid. So this cost would actually be.
You'd have to eat it anyway.
He would have to eat it himself.
Okay, thank you, I have no other questions.
Councilor Romero?
That's a concern I had is the specs, if the specs specified that, then that's included, even though, okay.
And
Even though
this
he
is
didn't
up
put
to
it.
council to make the decision if you want to move forward with them or not. I mean, it is a discrepancy as far as the approval. If not, we go to the next bidder, or it's up to you guys.
Mr. Mayor?
Go ahead.
Counselor Middlebury?
Mr. Mayor, Daniel, who's going to oversee all this project?
It'll
Is it
be-
going to be you or,
I'll be out there with the project. I'll be there out there full time.
and all the details that we have on this page here?
Yeah, we'll have to take samples of this gravel and stuff like that. It goes to the state and stuff. He'll have to give us a new mix design on that. I was hoping to see what we could do and have someone over there in this back as well.
How about when your asphalt, I'm pretty sure you gotta have that.
We do get it
Yeah.
tested as well. We do have a money for testing, which the testing, I don't know if we're gonna be using Billingsley on this. The engineer will let me know now. We do have money set aside for testing.
Or does it?
Yeah,
I thought,
we have,
I thought,
I think it's 5,000 for West National Keene, and we have 75 for Mountain View.
I mean, who's doing the testing?
I'm pretty
You're
sure it's
gonna-
probably gonna end up being Billingsley, but I'm not too sure yet. Our engineers actually take care of a lot of this for us, as far as that.
Okay, thank you.
Counselor Montoya?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I have quite a few questions and hope you have patience with me on this. I was just wondering how come there was no committee recommendation, or is there not a committee in the Public Works Department?
There is.
There is no committee.
There's no committee? And then, I actually had a few questions, and I don't know how come this contractor puts out material as a square yard instead of cubic yards on asphalt and so forth, base course.
And I did look into that, and they all did put in as square yards.
They'll get them as
Yeah.
square yards,
Yes, sir.
you know, and really, you buy that material by cubic yards, really. And I also had concerns about the recommendation that Molson Corbin gave us, and it also I guess the signs, the striping, there's no subcontractors indicated on there on that contract.
Right.
So that to me tells me that whoever's doing this project is the one that's going to build those signs and build the material for the striping, whether it's sidewalks or crosswalks or center line striping. But yet, as Councilor Casey indicated, this person is not licensed for that. So I don't even know how that went through.
Wait, she said that Rocky Road is not licensed for
For
striping?
striping or signage, they don't indicate any subcontractors. Normally, wherever the contractor's gonna get the signage from, they indicate him in there as a subcontractor, and we're gonna go purchase him from so-and-so and wherever. The same thing with the material for the striping. And there's different types of stripings. Now, Bill Isley, yeah, you are right, he's the only one that can test materials here, and there's $7,500 for testing there, but I don't know who's gonna oversee that within the city, or who's qualified to oversee the testing.
This is where we have our engineers, and they did oversee, and they looked at our bids and see where, if they have all the qualifications needed as far as when they put it out to bid. That's why the striping came up as a discrepancy as far as this. And this is why we bring it to mayor and council for you guys to make the decision if we're gonna move forward with this contractor or not.
Yes, and the other thing is this monies limited to the time frame?
We are limited. I have to spend this money by June, or encumbered by June, just because I already got 2 extensions on it, and as you know, we only get money every so often, so. The only other option we have is to move with Hayes, but we'd have to actually put some money in for that one.
Okay. And then, to answer your question, Madam Casey, is also, there is a pre-authorization construction charge there of $15,000. So any changes to this project, whatever they are, they're gonna take him out of that, whatever it is. And they'll leave that up regardless. They're not gonna give it back to you. And the same thing with the other project on, there's another $5,000 appropriated for any authorized changes that we'll never see them, and will never come back to mayor and council. So, and then on this project here, we have an issue with the curb. And I haven't seen the plans, but as you come in on Grand into Mountain View, the semis turn around that corner, and they already ate all the curb on the side, and you can see the rebar is being exposed. Is that going to be addressed that? Or is it going to be wider,
This,
the entrance?
from Grand up to like East Drive, it's gonna be a full reconstruction where they're gonna redo the whole
Okay,
asphalt as well as the curbing and stuff.
okay, so then we're missing about 1,000 feet or so of sidewalk in front of all of
And I did talk to our
Super
engineer,
8.
why we didn't do that one. As far as that, he said it would acquire more money for that we're trying to get more asphalt into the road as far as the sidewalks and stuff.
And then the same thing goes on the other side where the little moon is, or what is that business?
Yeah.
There's no sidewalk there either from the back of the building to Grand Avenue. And I think those kind of things need to be addressed and be included in a project like this. So that way we only do it once. I noticed a lot of visitors to the Super 8. That's one of the best motels here in town, and actually they won a national award of the way they run their business. And I see a lot of people walking down the street to get to Pino's, and there's no sidewalks. So that's an issue there. And also the drain on the corner, is that going to be removed or relocated or addressed?
That would probably be, with the full reconstruction, they're gonna actually take out the pavement. They'll actually have to replace that drain as well. Because right now, it's actually kind of falling apart.
And then the other concern that I have, Mr. Mayor, is have the people that live on East Drive been notified of this project, or how is it going to affect them? Has there been any public input?
I'm not sure. Has there,
We haven't had any public input.
No.
We would have to put out citizens.
so we'll have to do that before proceeding with the
Yeah, the project.
groundbreaking.
And they would have to actually submit traffics, how they're
Study.
gonna do the traffic to the DOT as well as to the city. How they're
So,
gonna close the road, how they're gonna keep traffic flowing, are they gonna put detours? I mean, that'll come within the project if it is awarded.
you see, and I think that should have already been part of the project and people being made aware and meetings had before. I mean, that's what happened at Las Vegas City School with that fencing project. They didn't have no meeting, no input to the public, and then we'll end up with the same situation every time. At the elementary school, have they been notified, or is the bus routes gonna affect them there in that area? And also, there's a church there, is that gonna affect anything there? I mean, those things need to be addressed before a project starts in order for it to be successful. And maybe it's too late for this project, but for further projects in the future, we need to address all those things before we put it out for bid and let the public know what's going on. And it's hard to get money nowadays, so it's even worse to lose it. So basically, we don't have too much of a choice on these projects. The one up in Old Town, that project should have been done 30 years ago. You know, that's one of the worst streets in the city. But again, I think that the public should be informed before these projects go forth. So that's it for me, Mayor.
Okay. Any other discussion? So, do we have options like tabling this so we can get these answers from Mr. Orrin Matthews?
We could actually ask and see if he has his license, but the engineer actually checked into it and he doesn't have his license.
Okay, so, and
So that's why he had the recommendation here at the bottom. And those are one of the discrepancy as far as his building.
so you also mentioned that because the budget within this contract includes striping and
Yeah, 'cause
signs and
when we
everything.
did put it out, it did include everything that is
So
needed for that project.
How is he going to do it if he doesn't have the license to do
He
it?
would have to
pay
get a
someone.
contractor to come out and do it. I mean, he'd have to get it approved by the city of who he's gonna use and stuff.
And what
They
happens if
usually
he
use like sandbar and
refuses?
stuff like that.
I don't think so.
He shouldn't refuse it, we're gonna have to, deduct his pay. I mean, there's no other way to get around it.
And also, another question, what happens if you get the asphalt to go get it tested and it doesn't meet the standards?
He would have to remove it and replace it.
Is he aware of all of this?
Yeah, he's been doing it for a while.
All right. So,
Mr. Mayor, I had one more question.
Yes.
The other thing that's not listed on this project is also a time frame. We need a time frame, whether it's 3 months, a year, 10 years, whatever the time frame is. And if the contractor don't meet that obligation, he's penalized by the day or whatever case may be.
And this will be within the contract is signed. And we'll have on there the timeframe.
the timeframes within the contract.
Yeah. And I know we'll be starting on Monday just because I need to get the money spent. And we'll move to the west side.
All right, so, Ms. Anne Marie, do we have the option of tabling this and finding out these questions from Mr. Matthews?
I believe that we should be able to find out the answers, but some of the issues that you had as far as the concerns by Molson Corbin, which did not list any subcontractors and did not list a striping subcontract, we could contact him and let him know that he needs to list his subcontractors and fulfill the requirements of the bid.
Mhm.
And also to list the striping consultant that he's going to use. And I believe that Molson Corbin, because they don't have a license, Molson Corbin would be able to get us this information. Am I correct, Danny?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Any other questions? If not, need a motion to approve or disapprove?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Councilor.
make a
Romero.
motion to approve award bid 2020-06 to Rocky Road Gravel for the reconstruction of Mountain View, King Street, West National Avenue for the construction, reconstruction, pavement, rehab drainage improvements.
Second?
Okay. Motion and second, any more discussion? Any more discussion? Roll call.
Counselor Casey?
No.
Counselor Ulibarri Jr.?
Yes.
Counselor Romero?
Yes.
Counselor Metoyer?
Mr. Lawyer, you want to break a tire now? Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Romero, a second by Counselor Ulibarri Jr. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. Thank you, Daniel. The item number 5, approve, and I'll just go ahead and read the approval, disapproval, and then that'll be your decision if you want to approve the CES vendor. Approval, disapproval to enter into a contract with Site Southwest utilizing the CES contract.
Mr. Mayor, I move approval of the contract with Site Southwest using the CES contract.
Second.
Got a motion and second. Any discussion? Councilor
Question.
Montoya?
Mr. Mayor, I know this is another capital outlay project, I guess, that got funding, that got caught. I believe, what was the original amount that was requested?
This wasn't, this was a project for, I believe it was Empty Stone Circle, but we had already received 75,000 in funding, Councilor,
The previous year.
Yeah.
previously.
Yeah. And according to these plans, just the average planning and design, I guess is going to cost $3,700?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And the actual monies that we got was 40,000 from the legislature or from
48.
whatever funding.
That was
75.
in addition. They
In
had
addition.
requested an additional 40,000. We did get funded up to 75,000 last year.
So you got 75 and 40?
No, 75,000.
75?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And the playground average, the height, between the high and the low is $40,000. And the landscaping is 80,000. And the average is, and the shade of the trees and all that is 30,000. So you have $150,000 just as an average.
Yes, sir.
Where's the rest of that money gonna come from?
They'll scale it back to the 75,000 that was awarded.
So you're gonna do all this work for 75,000?
Well, they'll have to scale back the project, sir.
Yeah.
And that's why these people, the Site Southwest architects will come in and scale it back.
So there we go again, shortchanging. You know, if we have a plan and a design to do this, and that, and just because we don't have that amount of money, we're gonna have to cut this off, that off, cut this off, that off, and we're gonna end up with this. I'm not sure if, can we ask for more funding at the legislature next year for this and
Absolutely.
add it onto it
Yes, sir.
before the project even starts?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Mayor, if I can.
Councilor Romero and then Casey.
Mr. Montoya, if I could answer a couple of questions. Is right now, you know, this money was requested from the legislature last year,
Last year.
the previous year.
Mhm.
We received it. We received a little bit more this year. Moving forward, what this falls within my ward is we'll be having community meetings and getting input and, you know, seeing exactly what we can do there. And I know I had my plans for what I wanted within that park, but, you know, that changed within our needs within the city. But, you know, rest assured that, you know, I will be getting community input from, you know, whatever takes place within whatever funds we do have. Additionally, it's gonna have to lobby the new mayor, but I'm gonna, you know, request additional funds to, you know, to do a little something nice up there.
And I'm just bringing it up to a point because a lot of these projects, we'll end up with just one or two of the items that, out of the 10 that we wanted for that park. And that's why you see a lot of our parks with just swings or something like that.
Yeah.
No lighting or no fencing and stuff like that. So I'm just making us aware that this project will probably be, and the new mayor that comes in, he has his own list of projects, and I imagine we'll get together with him on what we want. And this is gonna be another repeat project for the legislature next year. So in order to make it right and make a good project out of it. So just to point that out, that it's not gonna be all one slump on one face, because the monies aren't there, right?
Exactly. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councilor Casey.
If I could just add, Councilor Montoya, some of the requests that went into the legislature were not requests that were done by the council. They were requests made by individuals in the community. And so that kind of throws things off kilter sometimes, so that the ICIP items that the council had selected sometimes are not funded because the legislators are approached by individuals, and the individuals sometimes can be very, very persuasive, and the legislators will sometimes fund a project that isn't on the ICIP plan, and that is what has happened in the Criston situation. So we need to really monitor that, and I know people want to help, and the legislator will never turn down anybody that comes to them with a request. But we really, when we lobby next year for our legislative concerns, that we really focus on what's on the ICIP. And if we, want more funding for Criston, then we need to include that in the ICIP plan so that it can be, shovel ready and ready to be worked on if and when we get that money. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. So where are we at? Have we got a motion and a second?
Yes, sir.
Any more discussion?
We do?
We have a motion and a second.
Okay, roll call?
Counselor Romero?
Yes.
Counselor Ulibarri Jr.?
Yes.
Counselor Montoya?
Yes.
Counselor Casey?
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Casey, a second by Counselor Romero. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. The next item is approval, disapproval to enter into a contract with Groundwork Studio utilizing the CES vendor, and that is for the Riverwalk project that we have been working with the staff from the Riverwalk.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilor
make a
Romero?
motion to approve to enter into contract with Groundwork Studio utilizing the CES.
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion? Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Counselor Montoya?
Yes.
Counselor Romero?
Yes.
Counselor Casey?
Yes.
Counselor Ulibarri Jr.?
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Romero, second by Counselor Casey. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council. The next item on the agenda is the approval, disapproval to increase the visitor guide allotment from 19,600 to 26,000. We have Mr. Chuck Gregg. Thank you, Chuck.
Yes, ma'am.
Welcome,
Good evening,
Mr.
Mayor,
Griego.
Council. The item is to increase the amount from 19,600 to 26,000.
And the reason?
Can I give a little bit of background? We did have a Lodgers Tax Advisory Board meeting, was it last week?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, and this was part of their their discussion to fund the visitors guide. Originally, the request was for 19,600. They came in and requested 26,000, and I'll let Chuck discuss a little bit further as to what happened. The recommendations, we have not brought the recommendations to mayor and council, and I think it's probably the appropriate thing to do, and so that's why it's before you tonight. Chuck, and if you can.
Andy Kingsbury, they increased the amount of pages on the visitor guide to 29 pages. So initially it was 19 pages that the city had purchased. So he increased it to 29 pages, and that's where the $26,000 came in.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Councilor Casey.
Chuck, how many copies of that do they make?
Initially, we were told 40,000,
Yes,
It's
I
40.
was gonna say 44, yeah.
40,000, 44,000 copies.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, Councilor Montoya.
So part of the public input was also on item number 7, that they're asking to table this item. Because apparently.
No, that was
at
number
No,
8.
Item 8.
Item 8 was the one that was recommending for table by the public input.
My paper says item number 7. Let's keep it here. Item number 7. Public input.
Item number 8.
8 is the 5,000.
Says the second to establish maximum and minimum of,
Okay, there's 2
25.
items on there, Mr. Mayor. My mistake.
okay.
Okay. But the only reason I didn't talk is that Mr. Grego, Chuck, that they want the increases because of this page, the different pages on that. And do they promote Highlands University at all?
I'm not aware of that.
You're not aware of
I've
it?
seen them in the visitor's guide.
In the visitor's guide, this is the pamphlet,
It's the,
the 3-way folded pamphlet.
No,
No,
it's
it's
an actual
the
guide,
actual
like
book.
a magazine.
Okay.
actual guide.
Wow. And that's, you said, is distributed to different locations, 80 different locations.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay.
And 70 tourist pickups.
Yes, okay. So on this, Mr. Mayor, what's the limit now for procurement purposes as far as the limitation? I know that 20 years ago it was 10,000 and then we moved up to 20,000. What is it now, the limit for purchasing without an RFP?
It's, you can go up to 20,000 and then you can go from 20 to 60,000 with 3 price quotes.
Okay.
And then you go up to it.
Yeah. And if I remember and if I recall, this 19.6 goes back 20 years because it was at 10,000 and we put it up to 19.6 back in the day. And now they're asking for $26,000. And what are the results of this? Do we have any results of what impact it does for the visitors of Las Vegas, the tourists, or anything like that?
Not that I'm aware of.
There's not a study or results.
Not that I'm
So
aware of.
we're just publishing stuff out there and we don't know if it's working or not, or if our money is being invested in the right direction or not. Now, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Grego is here, he works for the city of Las Vegas.
Correct.
Now, I would have liked to see somebody from the lodger's tax to present this item on the agenda.
Yeah, we had that in mind, Counselor, but as you know, that we just weren't able to have this meeting with more than 10 people.
Well, it would have been saying the same person. Instead of instead of Mr. Grego, somebody from the lodger's tax. Same thing. But
But it
I
didn't
got-
happen, so
we
we weren't able to get that person here because we focused on the 10. And
Okay.
he is the staff
Yeah.
that is managing the lodger's tax.
Yeah, but I believe that if an organization is asking for funding, and this is quite a substantial amount, they should be here to present to us.
That I agree with
Instead of
that.
sending a city employee to come and do their job. The other thing is,
But I think you must understand the reasons why we're doing it this way. I understand your point of having the lodger's tax, the person that is actually doing this visitor's guide to come and speak to us. But the main reason why we're doing it this way is because of the edict from the state governor's office. And that's one reason.
so we're putting Mr. Grego on the chopping block versus somebody from the,
Well, he's not on the chopping block.
from the
He's a big boy
lodger's
now,
tax.
so he can
Okay, I get your point.
answer all the questions.
Mr. Mayor and Madam Manager, you sent us a monthly report here for the visiting center for the month of February. Here we have 15 visitors from New Mexico, and we have 76 visitors in the month of February from other states and other countries. So how does this reflect that we're spending our money wisely, advertising in New Mexico? I really don't understand that.
The visitor's guide has been distributed throughout New Mexico,
Mhm.
including the copies of the visitor's guide is also included at the visitor center, as well as other places. We send the visitor's guide to all the hotels, to all the motels. You see them at the restaurants. And so with that, Counselor, we have always maintained a visitor's guide. Now, do we want a different distribution? Possibly. Or do we want something different that may be printed up? Of course. Do we want something that we may want to include in the visitor's guide or additional? We always we're ready to take your recommendations, Counselor.
And what I'm more interested in,
Yes.
they can do the recommendations and
Yes,
put
sir.
all the events and so forth and that. But what I'm wanting is, I wish that they would bring results to mayor and council as to how this money is working for the city of Las Vegas. If there was a mechanism to figure out how we're getting our money's worth from this.
I agree.
Because right now, the only thing I have is a report from the visiting center, and that's 15 people from New Mexico.
And that's
and-
for only 1
Okay.
month, sir.
Yes, 1 month. And I know that changes. And
Yes.
76 from out of state. And there's other issues with the bulletin boards that we pay $10,000 a year for and so forth like that. But on this one, I wish that the Logistechs, again, would be here to answer the questions and what we can change and how we can know that we're putting our monies invested into something that we're getting a return on, you know, whether it's a survey from motels or whatever the plan is. But with that, Mayor, I'll
Okay, Councilor Romero, and then Councilor Casey.
Mr. Mayor, adding to, I think, Mr. Montoya, Councilor Montoya, I think it's not the Lodgers Tax Board, it's actually the Las Vegas First Independent Business Alliance that produces this book. But I agree with you, and this is going to be a recommendation, and we can go from there, is that we table this item and ask that a representative from the Las Vegas First Independent Business Alliance maybe present this data to us as to a list of the locations that these
pamphlets.
are produced, and as to see if they have results as to, you know, are they tracking the amount of visitors that we're getting based off of those. I don't know if that data is available. I don't think that they have that much knowledge, but let's ask those questions. So my recommendation, we table it and ask them to present.
Chuck, I thought we had all those data. Didn't they present that at the meeting?
Not to my understanding.
With that, that's it,
Mayor,
Mr. Mayor.
I'll second that motion.
Okay,
It-
hold on,
Well,
hold
I was
on.
just making
That wasn't a motion.
I was making
Hold
just a
That was not a
recommendation.
motion.
Oh, yeah.
We have no
Not a
Make
questions,
a
Mayor.
motion.
Hold on. Councilor Casey.
Thank you. We really can't table it because they need to have, this goes to print like in a week or two. So it has to be printed quickly, and if we don't approve that money, we won't have a visitor's guide at all. And the visitor's guide is very, very important to Las Vegas because when people come to Las Vegas as tourists, and you have that list there that shows people from other states coming to Las Vegas, you don't have a visitor's guide to give them, they don't know where to go. They don't know what to see. They don't know where to spend their money. That visitor guide tells people, these are the things that we have available in Las Vegas. Recreation, we have, beautiful historical buildings. We have the UWC, we have Highlands University. We have so many wonderful things in Las Vegas. We have shops, we have parks, we have all kinds of things that they can see, art, shows, you name it, we have it. And so by people, if they come to Las Vegas and we don't even have a visitor's guide that says this is what's happening in Las Vegas this month, they're not going to go. They're going to stay at the hotel and drink coffee and maybe walk their dog in the park, and that's it. But if they have a visitor's guide to show them what we have to offer, they will spend their money. And that's what we want. And that's where the lodger's tax money comes from anyway, is from out-of-town people. Very few people in Las Vegas will go stay in a local hotel. There were some that went when the Castaneda first opened. They went to see what it was like to stay in the Castaneda, and they stayed there that night. But locals know what's going on. We know what's happening. but people that come from out of town don't. Without that visitor's guide, they don't have any idea as to what's going on here. And if I'm not mistaken, Virginia Marujo, who is the media person at Community Development, keeps track of every hit on our website for community development on Las Vegas and how it's advertised. And one of the questions is, how did you learn about Las Vegas, or what did you like about Las Vegas the most? And some people have, put in there, I saw this on the visitor's guide. So yes, it is something that's valuable for the city. And I really think that, this money is not coming out of general fund, it's coming out of lodger's tax. So I really think that we need to approve it tonight so that we can get this done. And the work that is done on the visitor's guide, if you have not seen one recently, is excellent. They do beautiful, beautiful work with wonderful pictures, articles about Las Vegas. They do a really good job. And it's part of their deliverables that we have with the MOU that we have with them. And so we need to help them complete that MOU by funding the additional pages on the visitor's guide.
Councilor Romero?
Madam
Councilor.
Madam Manager, I had one question is, okay, how is this, the Las Vegas First, how are they chosen? Was there a request for proposal to do this visitor guide, or how were they determined to be the ones that, I know they've done it in the past, but I
They have
mean,
been doing it in the past, Counselor. They have always put out the visitor's guide. We've looked at other options and other opportunities that we may have. If it goes any higher, we may go out once next year. If this goes through, we may just decide that we want to look at something different. But the visitor's guide has always been put out by the Las Vegas First.
how, I guess my question is, how were they
Selected?
selected?
They were selected by the Lodgers Tax Board. They would come in with their proposal and they would be selected by the Lodgers Tax Board.
So, okay, I guess this is a question that adds to it is, so if they came back with a proposal that said, let's spend 30,000,
Right.
then are we, I guess the question is
Are we accommodating them?
Are we,
We have offered.
are we beholden to what, no matter what price they give us, then that's what we're beholden to?
No, sir. No, sir. As a matter of fact, Mayor, did you want to
Yeah,
say?
if I may, I was at the meeting when they voted on this. I know that the Lodgers Tax Board analyzed the request for this funding, and they were in a time crunch and wanting to make sure that what Councilor Casey has been saying, that the visitor's guides gets produced as soon as possible. Now, the other discussion on this visitor's guide was, in the future, they said they wanted to develop an RFP. And I believe, Chuck, if you can correct me, they are Lodgers Tax is in process of developing an RFP for a future guide. And that's one of the reasons. So this one here is primarily because we needed to get this guide out. And all I know is at my place of business, they give me a stack of visitors guides about this big, and it's gone within a week. So there's a lot of tourists.
70 locations out of state.
Pardon me?
70 locations, we distribute them out of state.
Right.
There's 80 in the area. So, and we are in the process of doing an RFP for the next one. But like Councilor Casey said, we're at that time of the year with the end of the season for the previous book, so we need to get the new one out.
Right.
One other thing, Counselor, if I may, was, if I'm not mistaken, last year we had 2 visitors guides. This one would be the only visitor guide we have this year, because I believe last year they
The Optic.
funded
The Optic.
The Optic.
this one, and then they funded the Optic, which was, I don't remember what the cost was there. We funded 2 different visitors guides. We decided that we would concentrate on one and make it whole and make it a nice one, and not, I don't know if the Optic was no longer doing it, or if they just didn't have any interest in it.
Yeah, they chose not to do it this year.
Okay. I didn't know.
And
it was
they
that.
may submit with an RFP out
They
there
may.
for the future ones.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, Counselor.
And I'm not objecting what they're doing, and I know that's a good program and everything. And like it says on here, 76,000 homes in Albuquerque, 22,000 homes in Rio Rancho, 7,000 homes in Los Alamos, and 3,500 homes in Las Vegas. I know they're doing their best and they're doing their job. All I'm saying is that we should have somebody, whenever they want to pick up the amount, or whenever they want money from mayor and council or the city, they should come before us so that they can answer the questions, and also so that they can give us some kind of proof that it's working. Now, with today's technology, I mean, you could get, like you were saying, they can go to Highlands, get 3 or 4 students, and this is costing us $1,000 a page. For 29 pages, it's 29,000. 19,000 for 19 pages that they're doing now.
It's not costing us, though.
No, not us, but it's still the communities.
No,
Grocery
it's
tax.
the tourist
I
that
mean,
comes in
yeah.
and pays the lodger's tax for this, and 4% is for the promotion of city, and 1% is for the infrastructure that they have built in with these proposals.
And all I'm saying is, I agree with the madam manager that, or with Chuck, that there should be an RFP down the road to get the best deal for the buck. And also, maybe even like Facebook, nowadays, that technology is real popular about promoting Las Vegas.
I
Well,
believe,
there's other
Counselor-
technologies that can happen.
I
in
know,
order to
Counselor,
get
that
results.
all those items that you just discussed were discussed at the meeting by the lodger's tax,
I wasn't there.
because that's why I'm mentioning it.
Yeah.
And they are very in tune to what is needed to really expand the visitor's guide, really to make sure that our visitors come into our beautiful city and to enjoy the amenities here. And there's 3 new board members there also, and they are young board members, and they are really interested in wanting to promote, because they're business owners and hoteliers and a community member at large. So they have passion for this community. And the vote was approximately, I believe it was a 3-to-1 vote to recommend this 26,000 for the visitor's guide to the council.
Yeah, and I understand all that, Mr. Mayor. My point was just simply that we should have some kind of proof that it's working for us, for the community, for our business owners, that they're
You're
putting
right.
their money right in
You're right. You're
in the right
absolutely right.
place. And if we can do something different in the future, let's try it out,
Yeah.
you know.
We had every intention, Counselor, to bring in the lodger's tax board members to discuss this, and also the members who were producing this guide. We had every intention to do that. Same thing with the Rocky Road incident, the Rocky Road proposal. We had intention of having Mr. Matthews here to answer these questions. But because of the circumstances that we've had with the COVID-19, we were not able to. But I understand what you're saying, and I agree with you. In the future, we will make sure that we have that. Okay, so do we have a motion and second? Not yet?
Councilor
Oh.
Romero stepped out.
Oh, okay. We'll wait till he comes.
Are we waiting for him to come back?
Yes. Did you say we had a motion and second?
No, we don't.
No, we don't yet. Okay.
There was also discussion, Counselor, in doing a different distribution as far as the website and other website addresses, different tourist, different tourist avenues, different tourist addresses that we could submit through our website as well. And so there was quite a bit of discussion as to how we could improve the distribution of the visitor's guide.
Yeah, and again, this is a recommendation of Lodgers Tax Advisory Board, right?
Yes, sir.
Correct.
Yes, sir.
And that's my point, is
Yes, sir.
if we could have had somebody from them or the First Independent Business affiliations. Next time we can. Thank you.
Of course, absolutely, we can.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor,
Counselor Casey.
I move approval of the visitor guide allotment increase from 19,600 to 26,000.
Okay. Have a motion, need a second?
Second.
Okay, motion and second, any more discussion? Any more discussion? Roll call, please.
Counselor Ulibarri Jr.,
Yes.
Counselor Montoya,
Yes.
Counselor Casey,
Yes.
Counselor Romero.
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Casey, a second by Counselor Romero. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries.
Thank you. Madam
Item
Manager.
number 8 is approval, disapproval of a minimum of $2,500 to a maximum of $5,000 cap of funds for lodgers tax fund allotment. We have Chuck as well.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, the $2,500 minimum is kind of a misread because there really would be no minimum per se. It would be a cap of $5,000 allotted per event. Board chairman is recommending that it be approved and be a standardized $5,000 across the board.
And that is for just events,
For events, correct.
events advertising.
Correct.
Right.
Not for infrastructure.
Mr. Mayor.
Counselor Casey.
I would like to remind everybody about the input from Wood Slick stating that he feels that this particular item should be tabled temporarily until the next meeting, until there's a chance for the Lodgers Tax Board to have public input on it, so that those people that come before the Lodgers Tax Board have an opportunity to speak about the limitations that are being set by this piece of business that we have here. So, the minimum, sometimes a group doesn't need a whole minimum of 2,500, they might just need, 500 or 700.
Yeah, I think that's
So,
what
yeah.
Mr. Griego had mentioned.
Yeah, and then 5,000 for some may not be enough, it may, maybe they need 7,000. So we need to get input from the community and the people who come before the Lodgers Tax Board to request funds and see what their concerns are, what their, have them give their input on this particular issue.
Mr. Griego, did the community do public input after all of the voting measures?
Mr. Mayor, the board chair at that particular meeting had moved the public input to the end of the agenda. So they had input, but it was not till the end of the agenda.
They had input, I'm sorry?
At the end of the agenda.
Right, but didn't they have input on
Yes,
this
they-
issue? And what was their input?
Exactly. Councilor Casey said that they were not in favor of it.
You said that the community wasn't in favor of it?
It was my understanding that people did not have an opportunity to give input because the agenda item was moved to the end of the meeting and it was lowered on the agenda.
Mm,
So many people at that meeting left and did not give their input.
I see.
Correct.
But some people did give the input.
Correct.
Okay. Councilor Romero.
Yes, I just had one question. Pertaining to the events, do we have an idea as to, let's say, okay, the smallest event, what we've given versus what's the largest probably that we fund? Salute to the Troops, maybe?
The two largest would be the Fiestas, the bike rally, and the top.
And what are averages that we spend on, from Lodgers tax to those, you know?
I would not know that. I started in November.
Yeah.
The 4th of July Fiestas is minimal, I haven't seen.
From Lodgers
more.
tax.
And from Lodgers tax, it's just for advertising, so it's a minimal advertising. I would say it was not more than $5,000. The one that is Salute to the Troops, it's close to, I believe it's 15,000
It's 15,000.
that they request on an annual basis.
If I remember correctly, Lodgers tax didn't fund this past year,
They did.
the
They
bike
did.
rally?
the biker rally was not funded by lodger's tax, but the Salute to the Troops was.
Those are just the 3 top events, I don't know.
Those were the top events.
So Salute to the Troops was how much?
50.
I believe it was 15,000, sir.
It was 10, because it was listed in the vendor checks, yeah, I believe it was 10,000.
They had requested, they probably requested 15, but they have to submit all of their documents, and we'll only pay them up to the total invoices that they submit to us.
They told me, when I spoke with Robert Gonzalez, he said that they were awarded 15,000 last year.
They award and invoicing, and what they invoice us might be different because they might not have spent the whole allocation.
Right.
Because in order, when they do, they have to show the deliverables of
Yes,
what
sir.
they...
They have to show the deliverables, and they have to show the invoices that
They
where
did
they
spend.
spent the money, sir. Yes.
So,
It's
Mr.
in the
Griego,
check register if you go through and look for it.
And
It could be.
correct me if I'm wrong, Lodgers Tax Board did approve this recommendation?
Yes.
it came to us. If I may, Mr. Griego, the minimum maximum figure, that is for events only.
Correct.
Now, anything above that 5,000 level, what is the procedure? They have to do an RFP or?
That would be my understanding. That's what the
Okay,
board
so
said.
they would have to have submission of an RFP to get
Correct.
more than 5,000.
Correct.
Okay. I think what I heard also was this minimum maximum is just to create a standard of distribution of funds for events. Is that correct?
Correct.
Right. So that's why the board recommended that this be just a standard.
And what they're trying to do, I believe, sir, is they're trying to just create a standard for everyone, because we
Right.
had quite a few organizations coming in with different requests, different dollar amounts, and so what they are trying, the board is trying to do is just create a standard for everyone to come in with an application very similar to the one that you just saw for the lodger's tax.
And it's not stopping from a person to come in and ask for more money above the 5,000. It's just that they have to go to through a different process.
A different process, sir. Yes,
Right.
sir.
So, Mr. Mayor, if I can-
Yes.
so People's Fair, does Lodgers Tax fund that?
Yes, they do, but very minimally. I believe if it was funded at, I want to say $500 because they did the advertising for the People's Fair, but they requested $500, and that's what we reimbursed them for.
I totally agree as having a standard, you know,
It's a-
I agree with the Lodgers Tax Board
It's a
having a
guideline.
standard. The only problem that I have
Yeah.
is the three largest events that we put in place, and I'd hate to, restrict them. I don't know if we could amend this to where we include with the exception of the 3 largest events, which are the rally, the fiestas, and the salutes to the troop. If we could amend some language as to, except for these 3 items, it still sets the standard, but it makes sure that we're not going to cut down on these 3 events.
That's a good point.
That's a
Wouldn't
good
that have
point
to
as well.
come from the Lodgers
That
Tax
could-
Board, though?
We could take the recommendation back and then bring it back to mayor and council for approval, for final approval, if that's what you.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
So Mr. Grego, right now, there's no limits at all.
No, sir.
So what do? They just, whatever they want to give out, to give out.
According to the ordinance, Counselor, that whoever approaches the board with a request, the board hears it, either approves it or does not approve it, and then we bring it to mayor and council for final approval, and then we go back to.
Yeah. And to my understanding, some of the organizations that go and ask for funding, sometimes they'll help them out with so much, and it's up to the organization to put in the rest. Is my understanding? Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
Counselor, if I may, what they're doing is they're trying to set the standard because we have budget allocations coming up. They'll be coming into Lodgers Tax Board with their requests, and so they were trying to set up some kind of a system for all of the activities that'll be funded in 2021.
Yeah. And that was my concern when I saw there that it was $2,500 minimum and max top 5,000. That excludes smaller organizations from going and asking for funding. I don't agree with that.
Yeah, I don't either.
Yeah.
I think the discussion at the meeting was that
Yes.
0
Zero
to
to
5,000.
Yeah, exactly, thank you.
And I believe that all the events requests are being submitted by the 14th of this month. Is that correct?
No, the 31st
I
is
mean-
the final, the last day to submit anything for the meeting of the 14th.
I mean, the April 14th,
Correct.
that's what I meant, yeah.
Correct.
Yeah. So they need to have this either approved for them to accept those requests?
Correct.
Okay, and then the next board meeting is when?
April 14th.
April 14th or 15th?
14th.
14th, okay. So will they be able to get this through?
Based on your recommendation to the board.
Yeah, I think the recommendation is what
Yes, sir.
I've been hearing is that they amend it to, for the 3 events.
And I
Is
have
that
my,
correct?
I have my motion, if we're ready for it, I could, I
Okay,
make a motion to approve. There's no minimum, if I'm hearing correctly.
Right.
A maximum of 5,000 cap for funds for lodgers tax funding allotment, with the exception of the biker rally, the fiestas, and salute to the troops events. That's my motion.
okay. Have a motion, need a second?
Can we just amend whatever the lodger's tax is recommending? Doesn't it have to go back to the lodger's tax board for discussion among them, and then they recommend to the council what they want? I don't think we can change their recommendation. I mean, if
well,
we're gonna
it's-
do that, what's the sense of having a lodger's tax board?
Yeah.
Is that an advisory, and I'm not sure, Counselor, I asked you, is that an advisory board or is it, I guess that's the question, is they're only advisory?
They're only advisory, but still, if we're
I'm
not
not
gonna
sure.
take their advice, why bother having them?
Yeah, but we're changing it from 2,500 to 0
I know, well, maybe they
to
don't
begin
want that.
with.
No, they
I
do
would
want
say it's.
The
we
chairman
table-
did
table it, then-
request that the 2,500, he stated the 2,500, but then he corrected himself and said there really would not be a minimum, it'd be 0 to 5,000.
Right.
So then why is the request coming in like this if
Yeah.
that's what they really want?
Because that is the language that was on the original paperwork when I submitted.
Because they're leaving everybody else out that's under $2,500 request.
They're not leaving it out. I mean,
Well,
What's 0 to 20, it's 0 to 5,000.
yeah, it's 0 to 5,000. But what they're saying is that it's in this document here, that it's 2,500 to 5,000. And in order for it we to approve something like this, that has to be amended. And in order to get it amended, the lodgers tax board needs to amend it. Is that correct? Am I
That's
saying that?
correct. Mhm.
But as far as long as I've been at the council level, the lodgers tax board recommends to the city manager, and the city manager recommends to the council on what should happen. And if the council wants a recommendation, I mean, an amendment to that recommendation, they would direct the city manager to make that amendment. That's the way I saw it all the time.
Okay, so the agenda for the lodgers tax meeting on March 10th says, item 2 says the approval, disapproval to establish a $2,500 minimum and a $5,000 cap for event marketing. So that's the way it was on the agenda for the meeting. I'm going to see.
Right, and I believe they had the discussion and amended it to have a 0 to 25, I mean, 0 to 5.
Well, then, the request, the agenda request was done on March 18th. I'm sorry, on the 11th. So if that was changed at the meeting on the 10th, why the agenda request should have said that?
You're
It should have
absolutely
been
right.
0 instead of the 2,500. So it needs to go back to the lodgers tax board to change that officially
And then bring it
and
back.
then bring it back.
Okay.
That can be, that we can in fact go back to Lodgers Tax Advisory Board, let them know what the discussion has been, and then let them bring back the recommendation to mayor and council.
Yeah.
if that's your
Because
request.
I think the concern, and I'm hearing it from Councilor Romero, and I feel the same way, Councilor Montoya, I'm sure you do too, Councilor Olivari, that some of the smaller amounts are not really, they're left out. We have like La Llorona Festival, they always ask for $500,
Yes.
Where would they be then? They don't need
I think-
500.
I think to me, it was just a clerical error, but realistically, it's in the document, so I understand what
Yeah.
you're saying.
Yeah.
And I thought that we would have the authority as a governing body to amend that recommendation.
Well, isn't that, Mr. Attorney, are we correct in basically us making the amendments tonight? And it's, if Lodgers Tax wants to review it, they can, but ultimately it's going to be our decision, so I don't know how.
It is, but it seems to me that it makes more sense to have them make the recommendation 0 to 5,000 and then come back.
Bring it back.
Okay? Okay. Do you need to amend your motion or cancel your motion?
No, I don't, if they don't agree to our amendments, it makes no sense, what I'm saying is, we send it, we wait for them, they say no, when they come before us with what other proposal, ultimately, we're gonna make. Does that
Well,
make-
from what Mr. Gayler has said, is that that's really what they wanted, but they didn't bother to change
Change it.
the amount on the official record. So if that's what they want, if we just tell them that that's what we want too, I'm sure they'll agree and do it quickly so that we can deal with it at the next meeting.
So will this be effective, because we had these proposals that are due, when you said, the 31st of this month?
Yes, the 31st.
So if we wait till after, where does that put everything?
Put it into the next meeting, which they meet 3 times a year. It's quarterly.
Can you speak up? I'm sorry.
It would push everything back. They meet 3 times a year. It's quarterly meetings.
But they could also have a special,
They could have a
special meeting, correct?
And then once we amend
But then we still wouldn't have our meeting to approve it till after the deadline anyway, is what I'm gathering at.
You still, Mayor and councilors, you still have an opportunity, because if they come back in April with the amendment or the recommendation to change it in whatever way that you're recommending, or that the Lodgers Tax recommends, we can always accept the proposals and then have a special Lodgers Tax meeting in May for the approvals on all of these events. So there's still a little bit of, there's a window, because we don't need budget until, I believe, June 1st. They're allowing us, June 1st is the deadline. And so by then, we would have all of our events ready to go.
What happens to their advertisement of their events? I understand the reason why they need this funding is to advertise their events in due time. So not just a week before the event. Is that correct, Mr. Griego?
I don't, good.
It would go, what would happen is if these requests came in on March the 31st, and maybe some of them won't even meet the criteria, some of them may be up to the $5,000, and I don't think you're disputing that. You're disputing just the 0 to 5,000.
Right.
And so it's not going to be all of the recommendations that you receive, it's just going to be the ones from the 0 to the 5,000. So all of the events are not going to be at that level. There'll be some, I'm sure. There'll be some that we need to look at, but other than that, because you're not disputing anything.
Mr. Mayor, I keep my motion as is. If it happens, it happens. I just think that it makes no sense to
Okay.
ultimately we're the.
All right. Councilman Montoya? No?
You want my comments?
That's what you,
No.
oh, okay.
But I'll tell you, we're out of order, Mr. Mayor, because we shouldn't even be discussing this item. Senor Attorney, because if there's not a second, this motion is gonna die instead of tabling it.
And that's what I mean, I had a motion,
And
so
we shouldn't be
whatever happens.
discussing all this without a second motion, so just a point of order. But no, I don't have a motion, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, so there's a motion and waiting for a second. Waiting for a second. Motion dies for lack of second.
Thank you, Mr. Ray. Thank you, Council.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. members
So,
of the
hold
council.
on. So, then what do we need to do? Let's get this clarified.
We send it back to the Lodgers Tax
Mr. Mayor, I
Advisory
move
Board.
that we temporarily table this item in order to give Mr. Grego and the city manager
Point of
an
order.
opportunity to take it back to the Lodgers Tax Board for clarification.
Mr. Mayor, point of order, we already voted on it, it failed, there was no motion, no second.
I didn't
It
ask for a
died.
motion, I
It-
asked
it
for a
died.
clarification.
No,
So,
but it died
with
for
my
a lack of-
understanding,
It died for a lack of motion.
I understand that. I just asked for a clarification of what we're going to do, because
Yeah, but you can't bring it back.
I'm not bringing it back, I'm just
I'm
asking for a
sorry,
clarification.
you are incorrect.
She wants to table it, no. It
You
already
can't do
died.
that. His motion died. You can make another motion.
Yeah.
My motion is to temporarily table it. That is parliamentary procedure.
Mr. Attorney?
I agree, Councilman Casey. Can I just add one thing in this, something the mayor said? There's consensus that this 2,500 was purely a clerical error or a clerical typo that wasn't meant to be there. And I think if everybody agrees that that's truly what happened, I think that you don't have to send it back. And then it just becomes a typo and something that they recommended. And then Mr. Griego, I think, was there and said that that was their intent.
Correct. Okay? So,
I just got
Councilor
a
Casey.
text from Mr. Kutik Vodka, and he says, gosh, you can fix this right now. He says 2 stages, 0 to 2,500 and 2,500 to 5,000. That's what we approved. We approved 0 to 2,500 and 2,500 to 5,000 cap. You can do this today. Please don't push things back. You guys are not disputing the board's vote.
okay, so,
So
my
do we
motion.
want to go back and with a new motion to bring in the numbers as Mr. Vodka recommends?
well, since the motion died, we can bring up another motion,
That's correct.
As long as it's not exactly like my motion.
as long as it's not similar, right? So who would like to make a motion?
I'll make the motion, okay? And what I would like to do is to recommend an approval in events in 2 stages, 0 to 2,500, which would catch all the small ones, and 2,500 to 5,000, and the 5,000 would be the cap. So it'll go from 0 to 2,500, and then from 2,500 to 5,000. So there'll be two categories for
2
events.
states.
With the exceptions of the,
With the exceptions of the larger events such as Salute to the Troops, the Fiestas, and the bike rally.
That's your motion?
That's my motion.
second.
Got a motion and second, any more discussion? Any more discussion? Roll call.
Counselor Ulibarri Jr.,
Yes.
Counselor Romero,
Yes.
Counselor Montoya,
Yes.
Counselor Casey.
Yes.
And a motion by Counselor Casey, a second by Counselor Romero. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Griego.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Members of
Okay.
the council.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council.
Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is councilors' reports.
Okay, Councilor, let's start with
I'll just
Councilor
start.
Delivery.
I was up at the legislature this past year, and when I got there, I learned that we had a lobbyist contact, and I never was called or anybody called me, letting me know that there was a lobbyist working for us. So it was kind of real unusual for me, because, you know, they should have, whoever did the decision or whoever made that decision should have had the council or call the council and ask them, tell them about, we had a lobbyist out there. I would like, if they're doing that, they would like for them to call the councilwoman and tell them what's going on. But, you know, I was real surprised about that. And another thing, on this, for the 4th of July and everything, all the events that are coming in, what's going to happen if the virus is going to stay here for 3 or 4 months? Do we have a plan to keep on doing these events or what? You know, that's one of the things that it's kind of concerns me. And I just want to thank the city streets for all the potholes they've been filling up, you know, doing a good job. And the rest of the staff, thank you for everything they do for us.
Councilor Ulibarri, it was I that made the decision to hire Dr. Sanchez as a lobbyist, and I apologize for not disseminating that information to all of you. But I feel that the reason why I made the decision was because of his major contacts within the legislators. And he had introduced us to a lot of the secretaries of the departments and also the senators. So we tried very hard to get the amount of monies that we wanted.
Well, I've been doing some lobbyists for the past 2 years out there, and, you know, it was real unusual for me that it didn't happen that way, you know, and that's fine, you know, that's fine, but I would like
Nick?
for the rest of the council to see
You're
what's
right.
going on, you know.
You're absolutely right.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Councilor Romero.
Pretty much, I think I addressed my concerns. You know, I had the park situation, you know, the equipment, you know, as far as, you know, allowing the you know, children to be playing on it, and, you know, the safety there. The other one, that concern that I had was the flea markets. You know, that was another one. But it looks like the governor has addressed that. The other part is, I guess, you know, all these rules in place as far as businesses, restaurants, and I don't know if maybe Chief Bibb or who can enforce all this stuff. Flea markets are closing. I mean, they're supposed to be closed. If they open up, enforcement is the question I have. Who's going to be enforcing that?
That's a good question. I'm going to have to, tomorrow, what I'll have to do is make some phone calls, see who the enforcers are going to be, whether it be the police department or whether somebody from the state comes in, because you can be, in fact, I believe it's fined. I think they can be fined up to X amount of dollars, is what the governor has stated on her. She's asking for volunteers to, she's asking for us to adhere to the recommendations, but she has also stated that she could enforce a fine if she found that people were not adhering to some of her recommendations. So I'll have to see how we enforce that, and I will.
Okay. And then I know you had sent us an email pertaining to, and you even have them posted, you know, those, you know, that staff is going to be checking individuals if they show signs, and I come a couple of times, and I don't know, again, you know, how you're going to enforce that. Is you have individuals coming, they have a runny nose, a cough, I mean, and of course I didn't have it, but nobody was there to kind of like get me out of the building if I did, you know, and I mean, those are things, you know, as far as even at the payment center, I know we're encouraging to be, you know, pay online, but at those places where our employees are basically vulnerable, or, you know, the people come in, I mean, what are you doing to ensure that somebody is, you know, a standpoint? I know you have Mr. Jaramillo, but I mean, he can't be at all the places, you know, all the public places at one time. I just, you know, if you could, you know, get something to us and let us know how you're doing that.
And that enforcement, of course, Mr. Jaramillo does assist us. It's on a case-by-case basis, but it's also the department director who would start the process and start the contacting Mr. Jaramillo. We have another person who also assists him. And so we had an incident on Monday or Tuesday, and we took care of that as well. So it's going to be a lot to do with the department directors and how they enforce that as well. And then if we need other people to help with the enforcement, then we have some other people that we can tap as well. So we'll do that. We'll continue to do that. If it gets overly taxing for us, then of course we have to do something different.
Okay, and I mean, I guess just the biggest concern is the safety of the public all over. I mean, just keep us informed and let us know, you know, we're not finding out secondhand or 20 minutes after the PSA has been notified. Just.
Right.
And again, you know, public I mean, I know we don't have one, but if you could assign somebody that's going to be, you know, intaking all this information and disseminating it, you know, to everybody, I think that's important.
Okay? Sure, try.
Councilman Montoya?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, thank you. As requested by you, I met with the city manager and the public works director after the last meeting, and we sat down and they ordered material from Santa Fe, and they started that pothole patching, and I hope that continues. And also, thank you very much. And then the other thing is that I'm concerned about is what percentage of water storage are we at now?
You know what, I didn't look at the,
Okay.
we have the water report, and I can get that to you.
Okay. And are we looking at any water restrictions this summer? Or
No.
stricter?
No, sir.
No? Well, we're on stage 1 now.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And now, on the lobbyist, what was the fee that was charged for a 30-day session, if I may ask?
I believe it was 10,000,
Yes,
is
sir.
that correct?
$10,000 for one time,
In 2 stages.
In two
Two
stages.
payments,
for a 30-day session?
yes.
Okay. And lastly, I just want to thank you, Mr. Mayor, and Madam Casey, for your service as mayor and city councilors. I don't know, the next meeting is May 1st, or when? When's our next meeting?
April
It's
8th.
scheduled for April.
April
Eighth.
April 8th.
8th? Okay. And I guess the new mayor and myself will take the oath of office on April 1st?
April 1st is when you take the oath of office.
Okay, so is that like, where's that going to be at, or what is it?
That would be up to each one of you,
Mhm.
how you want to proceed with that.
Okay, so it won't be on the April 8th council meeting?
No, it's not scheduled for the April 8th. You
Okay.
can do it on April 1st if you like,
Okay.
wherever you want to proceed to do that.
Thank you. So, once again, I thank you for your courage to run for public office. It takes guts, it takes thick skin, and it takes a lot of decision-making, as you all know. It's not an easy job. We get used by like a punching bag most of the time, but we try and do the best we can for our public. And I just want to thank you for your services, because I believe, I don't know if this is the last meeting that they will be attending, or when?
Not for me, I'll still be at the
Still
April
on the
meetings.
The
I
April
will-
meeting?
This will be my last meeting, unless we have a special meeting.
Okay, this will be your last meeting?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Well,
You're destroying my thunder, come on.
I just want to take the opportunity to
No, I
thank you
appreciate
because,
that. No.
because, you know, if this is your last meeting, you know, something needs to be said, and we thank you. And
Appreciate
I think a lot of people in the community really respect you, and they like you a lot.
Thank you.
You're a good individual, and we wish you nothing but goodness for the rest of your life and with your family. Thank you,
Thank
Mr. Mayor.
Appreciate it, thank you very much.
I got a comment, Mr. Mayor. Excuse me.
Okay.
I just want to thank the council. I came in here very, very green. I've been learning a lot. We went through a lot of bumps and I learned a lot. I just want to thank you guys for the hard work that you guys do for this small town, this beautiful town. You know, you guys did a good job. We had hard times and good times, but thank you for all the service you guys do for the city.
Thank you. Okay.
I'll save my comments for Councilor Casey, because I know I have another one with her. But to you, Mr. Mayor, I want to, thank you for your years of service and everything that you've done for not only your your ward, but also the community, and also what you've done, you know, in all the different boards and everything that you've served on from, you know, I mean, you've done a lot for this community, and one of the biggest things, I think, is stepping up into this mayor role at this time that we're in, you know, with this, you know, everything that happened with the previous mayor that was, you know, controversial. You stepped in willingly, not knowing what you're getting into, but you've handled it with grace and very ethical. And now dealing with the COVID virus, despite, you know, you coming back basically from the emergency room or the hospital, you know what I mean? And then you stepped right into it, and that says a lot. You never let the community down. And I'm sure you're, as soon as you're able to, you're making phone calls and text messaging, and that says a lot about your work ethic. And thank you, Mr. Mayor. We're going to miss you, and we hope you still, and I'm sure you will, still be involved in our community because you're an asset.
Thank you, Council. Thank you. Councilor Casey.
Thank you. I have 2 items that I want to do during council comments. Where are we on the mediation with the acequias? I know that 2 mediators have been selected, and I think they want to get things rolling as soon as possible. I'm concerned because I know that we have the money set aside in case we have to pay them, but just because we have the money doesn't mean we need to spend it. And so I would like to encourage Councilor Montoya, who's coming in fresh and needs to catch up on everything that's been happening with the acequias, and encourage Councilor Romero and Councilor Ulibarri, who are still going to be here after I'm gone, to please do everything you can to work out a water sharing plan through using the mediators, and get this thing settled once and for all. And let's keep our money. We need that money. We don't want to just give it away and say, okay, do whatever. So I would recommend that, but can you tell me where we are on that?
We did receive a mediation hearing, and I believe it was mailed out to each one of the councilors as well. They had several dates that they were looking at, some in April, some in May, and early part of June. And so we've sent our recommendations back to our attorneys, and they just haven't gotten back to us as to when that mediator will be available. As soon as that mediator is available, then it'll go back out to mayor and council, of course. I guess the choice will be to have someone who can negotiate on behalf of the city, and that'll be something that I'm thinking will be up to mayor and council.
I guess I didn't get that, and it may be in my mailbox, but
It may be.
the door was locked when I came to get my mail, so, okay.
We got one.
The other issue was, have we received payment schedule from HUD?
No, we have not. We haven't heard anything from HUD whatsoever. I'm not sure if they're just waiting for the new mayor to come in. I'm not sure. I haven't had any contact, and neither has Barbara, because I did ask Barbara today.
Okay, because I'm concerned about that, because
Okay.
I thought by now we would have already had that payment schedule.
I thought so as well. It would be good to have it, but we haven't received anything.
And the last item is I want to also join my colleagues in thanking Vince. You're awesome.
Thank you so much.
And I was going to cry, but I'm the biggest crybaby that ever lived. Oh my goodness.
Thank you.
You have always done an excellent job for the people of Las Vegas. And it doesn't matter who comes to you. They don't have to live in your ward. You know, you're always open to meeting with people, and I think that's a wonderful trait that you have.
Thank you.
You're also probably the nicest man that I have ever met. I can't think of you ever saying anything negative or ugly about anybody ever. And you always keep your polite demeanor, even in situations that are difficult, and even to the point of being ugly. You have always maintained that wonderful, calm personality that you have, and I commend you for that. And I wish you very, very well, and I hope that you recover fully from all any and all ailments, and that you stay healthy, healthy enough to enjoy your family and to be happy and away from political life, because it's very stressful, as you know, and I think you've handled it very, very well. And I'm very proud to know you and call you my friend.
Thank you very much, Councilor Casey. Wow. Yes, this is my last council meeting unless we have a special meeting by the 31st of this month. I want to thank each and every one of our councilors here for all the wonderful experiences that I have had. I know the last 3 years was something similar to a WWW fight at times, but we went through it, and I know that I still pray for our previous mayor. Hopefully she'll be in good graces. So we need to do that, okay? We also need to understand that our community, like I heard here, all Councilor Montoya, Councilor Romero is saying, transparency and communication. Talk to us, let people know what we are about to do, what we want to do, and what we have planned to do. It's very important that we do that. And Councilor Montoya, I understood exactly all your points that you made in regards to having proof of pudding when they ask for a lot of monies from us. So I really do understand that. All the guidance that we've been receiving comes from the federal government and also the state government. And our wonderful OEM director, Mr. Leo Maestas, he's working really hard to protect our community, along with all the law enforcement here we have, and also the state hospital and our regional hospital here, Alta Vista. Please understand that all these entities are working hard for our community to keep us safe, okay? And things are going warp speed. I mean, things are changing so fast that we may not be able to get you the information right away. It may be 2-3 days later or a week later, but it's going warp speed. I've really enjoyed being a counselor for the 8 years and also the mayor for the 3 months that I've been here. I'm so proud to serve my community, and it's a wonderful community. I'm now going into my 30th year as a citizen here in Las Vegas, and I really have enjoyed it. I've served my community a lot through my McDonald's that I had, and I loved it because they loved me and they loved Ronald McDonald, so that was a good thing. I also want to thank Miss Anne Marie. You have been so gracious working with me, and I really respect you and what you've done and supported me throughout this the 3 months that I've been here, and also through the 8 years I've been here.
Thank you.
So thank you so much. And Cassandra, welcome back, and I'm glad that we brought you back, and wish both of you the best successes in your lives. And I appreciate everything that you've done. Ms. Danielle over there, thank you so much. You did a great job on the election processes. I know that you were stepped into this. This was your first one, right? Oh, your second one, okay. Yeah. Wow. Well, that's great, but thank you for all the things that you've done. And Mr. Silva, thank you for agreeing to be our interim attorney.
Of course.
I really appreciate your expertise, and we were glad to have you working with us. So thank you, appreciate it. And Mr. Silva is going to be here till, the contract is till May 31st, until Mayor-elect Trujillo selects us an attorney. Okay?
Yes, sir.
Wow. And it's all the staff. The next week and a half, I'll be going through all the departments and thanking them for all their support and what they've done, and all the good work.
No. Be careful.
Well, I'll wear my mask.
safe,
and-
be safe.
Yeah, I'll wear my mask.
Mask and gloves.
And I'll go, greetings.
Yes.
Kawanda. So, but thank you so much, and many successes to all of you. I appreciate you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Mayor, I
Motion
move
to,
that we adjourn.
motion to adjourn, need a second?
Second?
Motion and second, all those, roll call.
Counselor Romero?
Yes.
Counselor Casey?
Yes.
Counselor Matoya?
Yes.
Counselor Uribe Jr.?
Yes.
Have a motion by Counselor Casey, a second by Counselor Uribe Jr. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries.
Thank you. Meeting adjourned.